my best friend's actually does come. His family is from Transylvania, Romania,
Mm. And you're
and
sure he hasn't bitten you on a visit at some
and
point?
his father was Russian, which made it even more amusing. The Russian granddad was a source of many a strange story, as were his grandmother's brothers. When they came here, they came here, the Staten Island thing off the boat, and um, they go in there and there are customs and all this, and one of the brothers goes in and walks up and sees people using the urinals, and he was so fascinated by them because where's the river? So he literally tore one of the urinals off the wall because he wanted to figure out where the river was.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was looking for the river. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the thing is, Transylvania, Romania was very isolated. I mean, we were talking up through World War II, etc. Now, mind you, his
Oh,
mother was a Romanian Jew, which so there was a good obvious reason why they were getting the fuck out of the country.
yeah.
But when Germany went rolling through the area, these people up in the hills of Transylvania or Transylvania and Romania, it was Romania at the time that owned Transylvania. They just kind of ignored that part of the country, apparently, on the most part.
Yeah.
But they'd built roads and infrastructure all around them. And what would happen is, cars would go flying by on the road, and to the people that lived there, these weren't cars, these weren't roads. It was this strange black thing that was on the ground, and these demons would go screaming down them. And if the demon screamed at you when it was going by, aka honking, then obviously the demon was trying to possess you, and they'd have people like stoned to death in their own little thing over cars honking at them on the road.
Yeah.
Backwards.
You can imagine something similar here in the States. Had the European migration happened 300 or 400 years earlier, and the Amish had been separated by geography for that length of time.
The interesting thing, though, is apparently during World War II, from what he tells me, there is a old German tank in the village that was in there when his mother was little. And the reason why the tank had been there is that during World War II, I think it was, a tank had gone rolling through the area, and the villagers were like, "Rah!" So they're grabbing, torches and pitchforks to attack this tank. Well, the driver of the tank, so fucking confused at what's going on, opens the hatch and goes, "What the?" So they ended up dragging out the people because he opened the hatch, they ended up dragging out the people that were driving the tank and murdering them because they were obviously in cahoots with the demon.
Well, yeah,
weird ass shit.
13. Question. Question for everybody. Is there anybody else hearing the low rumble coming from 13's mic?
It shouldn't be.
It sounds like a bee in his bonnet or something.
Yeah.
I'll plug in for good measure.
It's a new noise. It's
hang on.
typical.
Sorry, Heath.
I couldn't tell where it was coming from, though.
Or maybe whoever has been here long enough to know. What country or city was this tank?
It was going through Transylvania, Romania, in the hills.
Yeah, there's still some bits of Europe that are in the Dark Ages, believe it or not.
Oh, just a few.
They'd been isolated for so fucking long they had no idea what modern culture was.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to places like Transylvania and that part of Europe, you've got people like, for example, Vlad the Impaler to thank for that isolation because, nobody wants to go in that area, believe it or not.
Didn't Transylvania make a car?
Long after he and his legacy died, it's forgotten.
Didn't Transylvania make a car? Hang on, no, wait a minute, that's Trans Am. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, after the fact, perhaps. But this was, as I said, this was around about World War II era, toward the end of World War II, when they were trying to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, some of the depictions in the Hammer horror classics are not too far off.
No, I mean, in terms of what some of these people believe, it's weird shit.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is going on here? By the way, how's the buzzy thing? I'm plugged in now. Is it better?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Isolated chateau castle on a mountain top in some deserted region. Yeah, there's loads of those.
Should I invite Nate?
Sure.
I invited Nate.
I know.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while. Then again, I haven't seen any hangouts on his channel for a while anyway.
Well, I've had a lot of fun today talking about Mark Thomas guy. Not talking, but swapping messages. And when I say messages, I mean he has been copying and pasting the Bible. Pretty much every single comment he leaves is copying the Bible.
Lovely,
he's a
because
bit-
he can't
he's a
have a
bit
thought in his own fucking head.
Yeah,
Well,
he's a
what-
bit of a
Yeah.
pain.
Here you go, Cliff.
Just tell him you've already got your own copy of the entire book.
Yeah.
Ages ago, there was this one hangout that Xbox was doing, and all these people, Bible quote, Bible quote, Bible quote, Bible quote, Bible quote. So I pulled out a Galatians reference, and I said, if based upon this particular verse here, if the Holy Spirit's in you as you claim, you should be able to preach your own gospel and not need that darn book. So I challenged everyone in the room. They were like, we can do it. Oh, and all of them, hell, burning, damnation, judgment against the Fiona, truth, love,
Light.
understanding, compassion.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so which one's the fucking Christian? You tell me.
Yeah.
Which one of you is the most Christ-like?
It's pretty self-evident at that point.
Oh, and Cliff Jumper, there's a picture of the Romanian car you're talking about. Transylvania is kind of part of Romania now.
Well, yeah.
You may have a mistake in there.
It's been absorbed by Romania. This is why I was specifying Transylvania and Romania.
Yeah.
Because when Romania initially took Transylvania, the people that lived there didn't understand that they'd been taken.
Well, I asked him, why the Bible, why his religion is the truth, and he just set out effectively a Gish Gallop, but I just went through it. So, manuscript evidence, archaeological evidence, eyewitness accounts, corroborating accounts, literary consistency, prophetic consistency, expert scrutiny, leader acceptance, global influence, changed lives. And I just went through the list.
Of course, my favorite is when they say empty tomb.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, that's one of mine in there. So manuscript evidence. What manuscript? Is there an original? What about the Synoptic Bible, the one with 11 verses Matthew missing, which suggests it was added later on? Archaeological evidence. What archaeological evidence? Other than places still existing, Bethlehem or Jerusalem, there's no evidence.
Well, hang on. The thing is, Bethlehem didn't actually exist concurrently during that time period, if I remember correctly. That actually didn't pop up till about 100 years after that biblical account.
Yeah, and there's also some timeline issues with Herod's census and.
Well, there were two different Herods.
Yeah.
So it's 3 years before, 3 years after, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a 6 or 7 year span.
One of the things
There are 4 different Herods. Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you. I know there's the OT one, but I'm talking that around the time that Jesus was allegedly alive, I thought there were two different ones around that time period.
Yeah, no, Gabrielle's right. There was an entire dynasty.
Oh, okay.
One thing that made me chuckle is that when people refer to Josephus as evidence,
Yeah.
One of the things that Josephus really hated was Herod's legacy.
Okay.
And so,
hang on. So it was King Herod the Great and his son Antipasta?
Antipas.
Antipas.
Oh, I was close. I must have read it wrong.
Shadow must be hungry.
Must be.
Anyway, so do you think that Josephus, who hated Herod's legacy, wouldn't jump at the chance to say, "Hey, look at this guy. He said kill all the kids under the age of 2. What an arsehole." But no, never mentioned.
Yeah.
Were they murdering all the kids, or were they having a census?
Oh.
You figure it out.
Train.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was. Oh shoot! I lost it that fast. Go ahead. Never
Yeah,
mind.
it's okay.
Anyway,
You
so
lost
then
it years ago, Heavy.
Thank you. It shows, don't it?
So then I went on to eyewitness accounts, and except there aren't any. The Gospels are not written by the authors of them. Eyewitness testimony is flawed when crime happens today, let alone remember something that happened decades or centuries earlier. Corroborating accounts of what? Even the Gospels have differences. Any angels in the tomb?
Oh, by the way, yeah. I think everyone in this room knows that Josephus was a freaking forgery, and it's funny because I got in an argument with, I think it was Seamus a while ago, who's like, no, not all of it's a forgery, and we're sitting there going through the thing. I'm like, okay, the part of it that you're claiming is not regarded as a forgery says nothing about Christianity.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the way the dominant position is that there may have been like a core nucleus to the passage that was later very heavily exaggerated and added to. But the thing is that's not really supported by a whole lot of evidence. It's not like they found like a manuscript in which there was like an earlier, less bullshitified version of that passage. Sorry, bullshit. I just made up a word. Sorry.
Well, what's funny though is the part that he was saying that all the scholars agree is legitimate. Was a part that said basically there was a cult that followed this guy that they called Christ.
Right. There was a mention.
What does this do for Christianity? Nothing. There was a cult that believed something. Okay, great.
Yeah, and there was mention of James, the brother of Jesus, being killed or something.
Yeah.
In Josephus stuff. And then there was one paragraph where he was like, all of a sudden turned Christian. Oh, and he's praising God or something.
No. That part wasn't even. That part wasn't even what's regarded as scholars as being part.
Yeah,
of it.
that's what I'm saying. That part was in there, but it was only that one little part. You would
No,
think.
it was pretty much all the weird shit in there was just bullshit. It basically just said, well, there's a guy that was a brother of somebody named Jesus that was killed, and there were people that believed that somebody was a Christ. That's it. These are the only parts that even the Christians will claim, well, these are legitimate. It's like, yeah, and that says, what about your belief? It says there are people that believe that some fucking guy that was a cult leader was a cult leader. Okay, great.
It seemed like there was something
all right, guys,
Jesus was waxing
out there.
poetic about Christ.
There's people out there who write books about alien spacecraft landing and crashing in the desert back in the late 40s, early 50s, and how they're hidden away in a secret air base somewhere and no one's allowed to look at them. Does that make it real?
No. The thing is, and the only reason why people give a shit at all is because Josephus is held up as this early historian of his time, regardless of the fact that the majority of his stuff was taken by, what is it, something or the younger, or I can't fucking remember who. Tacitus or something like that.
Other way around, actually. Tacitus comes after Josephus.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I couldn't remember, obviously. But yeah, I thought that Josephus stole some of his shit from somebody else too.
By the way, let's have a little funny irony here.
I met my boyfriend on Christian. Wow. That's great.
Oh, that was good.
Well, yeah, I mean, Josephus quotes from other sources, but he's very honest about it. Like, he's probably the only ancient historian that actually had a fucking bibliography.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is the thing, is Josephus does have some weight, which is why he was targeted by Christians to sit there and rewrite parts of it to fuck shit up. It's like, here's somebody that's credible. Let's add some of our own horseshit into their manuscript and go, ha ha. Yeah, fuck you.
Found it. I thought this was in there, or had been added. It said, about this time there lived Jesus, a wise man, if indeed one ought to call him a man.
Wrong. None of that part's legit.
Yeah, well, no, what I'm saying is they point to this as legit. It's so,
Cliff, holy crap, man.
Yeah, but like, you know, they point to this as if it was legitimate. You would think that if Josephus was really into this, he would have did more than a paragraph. He probably would have wrote as much as he could find on this character. But no, it's one little thing.
Actually, I haven't actually looked into it enough, Gav, but that's actually a really interesting point that there were like 20 different people named Jesus that were referenced by Josephus. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, now that we got Gav here, and he may know, is it Jesuses or Jezi? What's the plural?
Yes,
well, it's I just I don't really Jesus's I don't know, the J man, I don't. Yeah, it's the Testimonium Flavianum. Yeah, that's the the part of Josephus that they love to cite, but there are so many credibility problems with it that it really doesn't even bear.
Follow the queue.
That doesn't stop them from trying to cite it as evidence, but
Follow the gourd.
Yeah, there was a guy I was speaking to at one point, and he goes to Josephus, and immediately I'm like, oh, dude, anyone but Josephus, please pick another fucking name, because that one's so bad. They're like, what's wrong with Josephus? I'm like, you're kidding me, right?
Well, I mean, if there were like 20 Jesuses, is this a bit like Christmas when you get like 20 Santas in town?
Nice. Well, I mean, the problem with it is let's say that what is written in the Testimonium Flavianum is original and it's true. That creates a whole host of other credibility problems because Josephus writes chronologically. And where that passage appears, he's writing at about a period of time, which would be about the year 19 to 20 CE. That's about 10 years removed from when the gospel account says it does. So either this is not authentic and it's not about Jesus, or it is authentic and the New Testament got a bunch of shit wrong. Take your pick.
Either way, somebody's lying.
Well, I mean, to me what's interesting is you have the whole thing with Paul. And now, in accordance to how old Paul allegedly was when he started doing his writing, in relation to how old Jesus was when he allegedly died and all this other stuff, as well as when the writing started and Jesus was regarded as... I mean, Paul's writing within 2 years of the death of Jesus. Is when he starts writing. Within 2 fucking years. Now, somehow, this little supposed Jesus cult that had these 12 disciples, over the course of 2 fucking years, has spread to what? How many goddamn churches did he write to? Holy crap. No, something does not fucking gel here.
Something else I just happened to think about recently was, they had the Council of Nicaea, where they picked they threw all these other Gospels out and kept 4. And I'm like,
wait,
sure, huh?
Wait. The Council of Nicaea, the first council at least, simply determined whether Jesus was, all man, all divine, or both. That's it.
So when was the
canonization was, I forget which council. It was a totally different council. It wasn't a Nicaea.
Oh, okay. That was the only name I could think of. Sorry.
In some places starts with a C. I can't think of where it is.
Oh, okay. But anyway, like they kept 4 Gospels. So even then, didn't they see like, okay, these don't match up. There's a problem here. Seemed like there should only be one.
They went with the most popular ones, is my understanding of it.
Yeah.
The most popular ones that can...
Hang on, Gav.
I apologize. They chose the most popular ones that contained teachings that they thought were favorable. I mean, there were others that were way more popular, but that had teachings that they had very serious problems with. That's why at the Council of Nicaea, when they voted on a lot of this stuff, when they came up with a lot of church doctrine, and they did settle some things with the canon there. Little interesting fact, the Book of Revelation only made it in by 1 vote.
Yeah.
And
the Book of Enoch almost made the cut. Almost.
Right, yeah. But it was, the reality is that it was a very, very skewed process because they only invited so many bishops from the opposing churches, the Gnostic and what are called the Arian movements, which of course no longer really exist. And they disputed things like the divinity of Jesus.
Wasn't there a group called Luciferians?
I think that's a later term to refer to something else. But so I mean, it was a very skewed. I mean, to say that mainstream Christianity, or as we understand today, in the 4th century was like a majority settled position is not true at all. They were actually a minority that kind of co-opted the whole movement and squashed everything else out.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that there were all these different groups, and many of them were the sacred knowledge kind of religions, this Gnostic kind of thing, that they believed that, more as you get deeper into it, more knowledge should be revealed to you as you're ready for it, this whole kind of thing, more of that the higher spirituality kind of notion of things, as opposed to, you read this, you believe this. It had more sacred teachings and these kind of stuff, and kind of the retarded religion is the one that won. If you don't mind me putting it that way,
Why did the way you describe it as you get further into it, the more knowledge will come? Why did you make it sound like Scientology?
Well, no. Scientology does a similar kind of thing in some regards, but the notion was that, okay, as opposed to this idea of, oh, we're all born knowing God kind of thing, it was more like the divine, it reveals itself in stages to us as we're ready to understand it and comprehend it. Because you must
Revelation.
grow spiritually in order to be able to understand these teachings.
Mhm.
And that was a little bit more of the notion of these kind of groups at the time period.
And it's very common in worldwide religions. Look at Buddhism as a perfect example of that. You know, the
But
Buddhist.
I mean, you can't equate this to Scientology in terms of, well, until you have enough time and money invested in it, you're not going to buy the whole Xenu story. But this is more along the lines of, well, this is kind of tricky to understand, so we'll explain it to you when you have a better understanding of the faith.
Yeah, I hate to point this out.
Like
I was only making a joke when I was making reference to Scientology thing.
No, it's actually a fair point. It really is. Other than just a joke, it's also a pretty fair point in a lot of regards. It's the notion of the mysterium of or the mysterium rather. It's that kind of thing. But it's like the whole notion of, well, there was this guy and da 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 da. Oh no, he really did exist. Okay. Well, okay, we're saying he existed, but really he only existed as this spiritual thing that was witnessed by this kind of thing, and it just kept going from there. So it basically started off with the really simple teachings, and then it became a little bit more bizarre and elaborate as you went on. Now, what the actual teachings were, who the fuck knows at this point, because they were killed off. It's like Wicca or anything like that that's had a resurgence in the modern era. We don't know what the classical beliefs necessarily were. There's some records, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you saying, Cliff? Hipster Jesus made a religion out of some stuff his buddies wrote before anybody else did?
No. Actually, my statement is that there was this Christ movement, that there were apparently possibly several different movements, and I think this asshole Paul went out there and usurped all of them, brought them under a banner, and said, "You'll believe what I fucking tell you to believe, assholes." I mean, the thing is, he's like, "Oh, I've had this long career of persecuting Christians and blah blah blah." He was a contemporary of Jesus. If what he's claiming about how badly he was persecuting these Christians prior to his road to Damascus experience, this guy was a contemporary of Jesus. And with some of the places he's been, he should have, in theory, met Jesus, or came across him, like seeing him up giving a speech or something like this, and could have been one of the people involved with having him killed, for that matter. But Christians don't even say, that this guy might have just usurped this movement or blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. Most of the Bible is the writings of this one asshole, so we're going to follow the teachings of the asshole, even when they contradict Jesus. Yeah, whatever.
Well, funnily enough, that was one of the next things. The literacy, literary consistency was his claim, and I said because Hillary found something interesting, which is the Gospels are written in Greek rhetoric, which is a style of writing of prose, and a big chunk of it, a chunky example that is very specific to that style, is the answering a question with a question, which Jesus does a lot.
Well, the other thing is with the way that the Greek's written, there's no spaces between the letters, there's no punctuation, and Koine Greek is a spoken language which is essentially converted into written format. It's a mess in a lot of regards, and there are sections in there where it might not be saying, there is no God but me. It could be simply saying there is no God. Things like this that, depending on how you parse it out or depending on where you put the separation in there are places where it might be saying things completely contrary to what our translation models claim it says. And we have no way of knowing because it's essentially a lost language. And a lot of things like the slang or colloquialisms of the time, we have no idea what those would have been. It's like right now the word bad sometimes means good. We don't fucking know. Yeah. And there's no way for us to know, other than, some schmo a couple hundred years later while translating this shit decided that it means this.
Well, the other thing is that, like I said, Jesus spoke in Greek rhetoric, a style of writing from 800 miles away that probably is would be doubtful for a bunch of barely literate fishermen to study.
Well, yeah, I mean that's fine and dandy, but most people that wrote the Gospels were clearly not his disciples, nor does it ever claim that they are. They're all, nobody knows who authored any of them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
These could have just been like different literary versions of the Iliad, for all we fucking know.
Yeah.
I mean, we really don't know. But the interesting thing, as far as I'm concerned, is that the earliest manuscripts we have date to, the fragments we have date to, like 100 years roughly after the fact. However, the earliest complete versions we have, the so to speak, church-approved versions, are like between the year 3 and 400, and this can be shown by the fact that they use the the nomina sacra, which is the sacred terms. Instead of having like the word God in there or the word Jesus or what have you, they have abbreviations because we don't want to risk using the name in vain because that's so fucking vague nobody knows what it really means.
The next one I had was prophetic consistency. Yes, the prophecies written by people who have read the Old Testament have actually come true, and I bet for everyone you say came true, I could find the same amount from Nostradamus, equally fake.
Oh, don't get Gabriel started on that today.
Yeah, but the thing is, in terms of these claims that this prophecy came through, from what I've found pertaining to the actual messianic prophecy, there's somewhere around the area of like 12 verses that count, and when you look through what they believed their Messiah was supposed to do, Jesus fulfilled, I believe, exactly 0 of them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, because Gabriel, you really filled us in a lot on that.
Yeah, Simon Bar Kokhba, I believe, and I might have the pronunciation wrong, but I believe it was Simon Bar Kokhba that was the closest to fulfilling it, and he fulfilled like what, a third or something like that.
Yeah, Simon Bar Kokhba.
Thank you.
He was about 100 years after Jesus. It was the second rebellion against Rome, which was actually much more successful than the first one. Well, obviously, because there needed to be a second one, right?
Yeah.
And he was the leader at the time, and he had the backing of the mainstream, like, rabbinic establishment, which is something that Jesus never had, assuming he existed at all. But no, I mean, he was he had the right lineage. He was. He had a number of other qualifications, but in the end, he was killed. He was killed by the Romans, and it's so funny because I got into an argument with this minister on Google Plus one time about it. He's like, well, you Jews, like you stupid Jews, followed this Simon Bar Kokhba guy. He's like, he didn't do anything. He didn't bring world peace or anything, and he ended up being killed by the Romans. I was like, he didn't bring world peace, and he was killed by the Romans. And I was like, so where does that leave Jesus?
Yeah.
And he didn't like that.
Well, if we're all God's children, what's so special about Jesus?
Right. Oh, come on, Cliff. Every family has their favorite child.
But I mean, that's the thing is, so it's like, oh, Jesus, and every time I hear this shit, it makes me laugh. There's like maybe 12 tops. I don't remember exactly how many, but there's maybe 12 actual prophecies that are regarded to be part of the messianic the prophecy pertaining to the Messiah by the Jews. And these Christians come along and, I can list 400 biblical prophecies from the Old Testament that Jesus fulfilled. And it's like, what the fuck are you on, man?
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah, and then they'll go through and they'll find like the most obscure shit. Like I actually had one guy say, like Genesis, about something about Isaac being born. It's like the Messiah will be born of a woman. It's like every human being alive will be born of a woman, you dumb cunt.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the Messiah was supposed to be born of an orangutan. What the fuck?
Right. Is that supposed to be earth-shattering?
Oh, praise our monkey god.
Yes.
Right. Well, no, I mean, and then the real actual prophecies of what this guy, this Messiah, is supposed to do, it becomes very clear that no one has ever fulfilled them. No one, including Jesus. And that's where you get this idea. You'll hear the comeback, he'll do these few things that you say he's going to do when he does his second coming. Well, if that's the case, then I too am eligible to be the Messiah.
Well,
anyone is, because
the punchline of it all, though, is when you're going through the different prophecies and you're taking a look at what some of the criteria. And, there's some argument as what the criteria is. Some of them, when you read them, are funny. Actually funny. There's one of them that's something along the lines of the Jews going through a full year without fucking anything up and breaking any commandments. The entire Jewish population. Shit like that. It's like, good luck!
Yeah, well, that's from the Talmud. That's kind of a joke in and of itself, but that's...
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Some of them are funny because some of them, you're looking at them and you're like, this has got to be tongue-in-cheek. This has got to be. Yeah. This is why I don't really like most of the supposed Christian scholars, but I love the Jewish scholars. Because the Jewish scholars are like, yeah, a lot of it's tongue-in-cheek. Some of it's meant to be humor. If it's not meant to be humor, well, fuck, we're in trouble. I sure as hell hope it is. And excuse
what are you saying? Are they still debating on the line about not eating pork?
Oh, no.
It's pretty straightforward.
No, it's...
Oh,
it's
come on. If
like
it's a tasty animal, the chosen people can't eat it, haha.
No, a lot of it is really meant to kind of be... There's a good portion of it, and Lewis Black, I believe it was, spoke to this a bit. There's a lot of it that's meant to be kind of very tongue-in-cheek, kind of joking around a little bit. I mean, okay, the Christians will read Genesis, and there's this line in there that, Eve has her first child. And her response to this isn't like, oh, what a lovely child, or anything like this. It's, I made me a man just like the Lord did. Are you telling me that this is not meant to make children smile and laugh?
Yeah.
I mean, really, honestly. I mean, there's a lot in there it's kind of funny when you read it in the right voice, so to speak. But Christianity strips out all these voices, and they read everything as if it's meant to be in the priestly voice. I love Jay, the author that's regarded as Jay in terms of the multi-author hypothesis. They're great. I mean, so much of their writing is just is comical. It's whimsical. It's like, what question might the children have asked around the fire that she was trying to answer by telling this tale? And when you think about it from that way, it's incredibly enjoyable to read. If you look at it from the Christian viewpoint, it's like, and then he destroyed the world. And then they laid down and had sex with each other, and there was bow chicka bow wow. And the sons went across them and looked down. Yeah. It's a very different read if you actually pay attention. If you talk to Jews and say, well, what voice is this written with? How is this intended? I've had Christians arguing that the Psalms, the fucking poems in the Bible, are meant to be taken as literal things.
Oh,
and factual events.
That is so wrong.
No.
I mean, even when I was a believer and read them, I saw them for what they were. They were songs of worship and praise. That's it. They weren't prophecies. There weren't hidden prophecies in there.
Oh, yes, but one of the big prophecies of Jesus is, the dividing the lots and the lions by the hands and feet. Oh, I mean piercing the hands and feet. Oh, wait, no, I mean lions. They are fucking lions at the hands and feet, you fucking retard.
Yeah, I mean, the way King David was depicted, he was a real jerk at times. But on the flip side, he was also, according to the stories, he was also, God was quoted as saying, he was a man after his own heart. That David did love the Lord, but he still had his moments, and they were pretty epic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of the point, and people miss it a lot of the times, is that, look, King David in the Bible is called a very righteous man.
Yeah.
At the same time, it records each and every one of his absolutely miserable moral failings.
Yeah.
And I think that point is lost on a lot of people that you talk to. This whole, none is righteous, none is righteous, it's like, no, the whole idea of being righteous is not that you never fuck up.
It's doing your best and trying not to.
Well, sometimes he would do things intentionally, but he didn't. He was like he didn't quite get the part that he was really doing wrong until, like, what was it, the lady that he had child by?
In some cases he fucking knew that, this ain't cool, but, overran by lust, etc. Fuck it, I don't care.
Well, I was giving him a benefit of the doubt.
My joke is that the Old Testament is the history of the Jews doing it wrong for thousands of years.
Yeah, but about King David, that was one of my favorite parts of the Old Testament, was reading about him and stuff, and it showed like what he did wrong and the punishment and how he moved on from that.
But I mean, that's the thing, is God has unrealistic ideals, and that's that's kind of it, and it's known. This guy's unrealistic ideals. It's you want the best for your children. Your children are going to fuck up. You might have to punish them from time and time again, but in the end, you'll kind of forgive them and let them go. And that kind of thing. It's not this like, you are born a vile, evil, horrible. Wait a minute. So the whole visited onto the from father onto child up to the third or fifth generation, whatever. That doesn't apply to us being children of God and the whole Adam thing. Where the fuck's that from? You know, this is a law put down, except when it comes to Adam and original sin. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah, that's a fun conversation to have too.
Of course, my favorite is the stupid snake thing. The what is it? The most subtle of all beasts or something like this is what it actually says, if I remember correctly in the Hebrew copy. Was it subtle or was it something else? I always
cunning.
No.
Something like that.
Gav is the one that would know.
Yeah.
Cunning.
Cunning, the most cunning. It is cunning.
Yeah,
okay. I wasn't sure what it actually was in the Hebrew, but the thing is, of all the beasts, is the key part there. The word, whether it's cunning or subtle or whatever, that's less important than the fact that it says beasts. It's saying this is a fucking animal. This is a beast. This is not a person. This is not some fucking fallen angel. This is an animal.
Yeah, it specifically says that.
You can't be more fucking clear until the Christians come and retcon the fuck out of it.
It's amusing how often it's the literalists that will anthropomorphize it into, it's Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put Satan everywhere he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, God everywhere.
Not only that, it's the whole serpent thing is so amusing because, you know, it's kind of like, okay, so why did God allow the serpent to be in the garden in the first place? Why did he create the serpent? Because obviously he knows all this stuff's going to happen. Why did he make the tree, put the tree there? Why did he...
will.
Well, hang on a second. Now, Job is one of my favorite books in some regards. It's not my number one favorite. My number one favorite is Ecclesiastes. But Job is still one of my favorite books. And the Christians that will try to present that as being literal, I look at it and say, okay, the first line says what? There was once a man named Job. You think this is a literal story and not just a moral tale that's being told. It's essentially, it might as well be saying once upon a fucking time. This is clearly not meant to be a literal story. This is a moral tale. And you know, it says, you know, it has Hasatan, he comes, stands before the Lord, hey, how you been doing, buddy? Oh, I've been wandering to and fro and fro and to and wandering around your creation. Oh, well, hey, man, have you checked out my buddy Job? He's this great guy, and, well, I mean, you've given him everything. Of course he loves you. Why wouldn't he? Hell. You know, and it's this whole thing going with that. Well, I got into this whole thing with the, you know, Hasatan, loyal servant of God, member of the High Council, for fuck's sake, you know? The Divine Council, rather. And Veckel's like, oh, well, no, that can't be it, because at the end he goes, Lord, why is it that you tricked me? I'm like, what verse is that in? I don't remember that in the book of Job. And he goes, oh, it's in there. I'm like, where? Show me the fucking verse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people, and I've gotten into arguments with people about Job too. It's the only book of the Bible where it really doesn't give you any solid geographical details as to where it's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
The key indications is this is a story meant basically to illustrate a point. It's not supposed to be a tradition or some type of recollection of some ancient foregone guy named Job.
Yeah. Well, and even more so, the Christians, as far as I'm concerned, have that wrong, because the way that they look at it is, here's this guy and he is so loyal to God that all this horrible stuff happens to him and he's still da-da-da-da. But I mean, the real core of it is, there's this guy Job, really horrible stuff happens to him, and his friends are all like, you've done something wrong and you've pissed God off and you got to get right with him, and da-da-da. It's the judgmental assholeness of his friends that's more so this real point to the story is, you know, stop being judgmental to people. Sometimes shit happens.
Well, you think the people now would take a hint from that, don't you?
Yeah, but the universe and cause and effect is either God or the devil. That's the problem. That's where they substitute it all in. And,
it's like Job is a feature-length parable.
But on the other hand, when you go through the Old Testament, there is kind of this air of sometimes shit just happens. And sometimes people attribute it to God incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people make promises to God that are really stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jephthah thing.
Daddy.
Where, you know, the first thing that comes out of my house I will offer to you as a burnt offering. And the atheists fucking pounce on this shit. and well, God would have known. And I'm like, no. The number one problem with this is, he says, Lord, this guy who's been winning all these battles goes, Lord, if you let me win this battle, I will sacrifice the first thing out of my house. At any point does it say the Lord says, okay, no problem, I'll hold you to that? Never. So instead, the Christians will sit there, and instead of this being a moral tale of being careful what you fucking promise, instead it's this actual real story of this dude that goes out there and his daughter comes back, and the Christians are like, but it doesn't say he actually offered her as a burnt offering. He might have at that point started defying the Lord. Huh?
Well, it's a little bit not entirely clear. It's not entirely clear what is meant by offered. To offer to something or someone didn't necessarily mean as a burnt sacrifice always. It could mean to dedicate them to a certain
nunnery or something like that.
Like a very aesthetic.
In the text as it is in the Christian Bible, though, it does actually use the term burnt offering.
Yeah. And also this real sick part of that, though, is doesn't the girl say, you made the promise. That's okay, Daddy.
That's okay, but please, Daddy, may I go and bewail my virginity in the hills for a year?
Yeah, let me go to this crazy orgy, and then you can burn me up.
So, I mean, in terms of that, I think the strongest argument is, what makes you think the daughter ever fucking came back would be a stronger argument than what the Christians make.
I'd take the fuck off, that's for goddamn sure.
Yeah, think about it. What happens if you don't obey your parents? You're going to get stoned to death. Oh, burning or stoned to death. Let me just say. Run away! Run away!
I'll take stoning.
Well, actually, the taking your child to the outskirts of the town and have them stoned to death, it's specifically if your child's a drunkard. You just needed to point that out.
I thought it was the if you...
It's not simply disobedience, it's the child being a drunkard, is what it specifically says in the verbiage, if I recall correctly.
Add alcohol, instant asshole type thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's more to it. I mean, but there's also some really weird stuff in there, too. Because in accordance to, and I can never remember the guy's name, but the guy that's basically the number one authority pertaining to the Judaic law, who wrote all these different letters to his son, essentially explaining all these different things. Strangely enough, in terms of when they're talking about girls and this and that, and the whole thing about, the bullshit that God endorses rape, he doesn't. But at the same point, any child under the age of roughly 3, any girl that hasn't menstruated yet, is not actually covered in there. It's just kind of omitted.
It's not quite that similar. People jump on this passage in the Talmud where it explains certain things. It explains, first of all, it says and that you'll see it quoted like on neo-Nazi sites, like, oh, Jewish law allows you to rape a 3-year-old because they're not considered no, it absolutely not.
It doesn't follow. It's just noteworthy that it's just not referenced in the text. That's all.
Well, not in the Bible, but in rabbinic texts it certainly is.
Is it? In additional? Okay.
I mean, no, it says that basically if a man would have sex with a 3-year-old girl, which is horrible, absolutely gross, then it's like sticking your finger in your eye. Now, what does that even mean? What that means is basically the eye is regenerative. It's going to basically grow back, basically. And there have been documented instances where a young toddler, a child, if the hymen is broken, that there's some type of regeneration, not always a full whatever. The whole moral of the point in that passage in the Talmud is that a 3-year-old girl who loses her virginity, quote unquote, she is still considered a virgin. It's not in any way excusing the act or saying that, yes, you may go out and rape 3-year-old girls. Not at all. It's explaining that when it comes time for her to get married, she still counts as a virgin, and the dowry that's
not even the part I was referencing. What I was referencing is the whole thing with the whole thing with a maiden and somebody coming across, or whether it be in the countryside or whether it be in the city or what have you. That whole part. With the verbiage there, it's not counting for anyone that hasn't menstruated yet. That's all I was referencing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that there, because it's, in terms of that particular portion of the law, it doesn't talk about people pre-menstruation. That's all, which I don't think is that significant, quite frankly. But it's just not there.
Well, I can tell you why. Adulthood in Jewish law starts at puberty, basically. And in adulthood, basically, is not really so much an age. It's when you become morally aware for your own choices. That's why a 9-year-old boy who takes his father's gun and is playing with it and accidentally shoots his friend isn't liable for murder. He's under 13.
Makes sense to me.
Cognitive processes are interesting.
But I mean, that's the thing is, and this led to some really stupid and idiotic arguments back in the day, because it sits there and says, if a woman and a man, or if a man comes and basically rapes a woman out in the country, and there's no one to hear her scream, well, no harm will come to the woman. Well, naturally, if something happens in the city and she doesn't scream out, then both are to be. And I got a little bit of a problem with that. But but the thing is, when you put in the cultural context, there was no way to prove the claim. If no one was a witness to it, and it was just some girl saying, "Well, this guy did such and such to me," there was no way to determine it. So, okay, fine, you're both going to be fucking put to death at that point. Because this prevents people from potentially making false claims, because there was no way to check the fucking DNA or anything like this. So, I mean, there is some sense to it. Now, when we present this against Christians, we never bother to point this out, and I think most people with a fucking brainstem should be able to figure out that, there was no way for them to determine whether a crime was really committed or not, and that's why it's framed that way. And in terms of the final scenario, it's not specifically speaking of just cases of rape with the whole Shekels thing. It could be an affair, it could be rape. But it could also be an affair, it could be all kinds of different circumstances beyond that. It could be a seduction. It could be a number of different things. It's not specifically talking just about rape in that instance. But they have these all kind of lumped in the same category. But what's not referenced in the Bible, and this is why the Bible's so fucking bad, as far as I'm concerned, is things like, for example, the girl can plead to the father and say, "I don't want to marry this man," and it's up to the father to ultimately decide, okay, fine, you don't have to. In the case of widows and this kind of thing, or women that have already been married, etc., it's their choice. They can just, fuck you, give me the money. I'm not marrying your dumbass. There's so much nuance to this in Judaic law, and none of that's in the Bible. So if you go just by what's in the Bible, like G-Man tries to with these kind of arguments, whether it be slavery or rape or what have you, you end up with this horrible, horrible picture of the people of the time and the morality of this God character. You really have to look into the culture and understand what the fuck was going on at the time to make sense of any of it. And the Christians don't bother with that. They're too busy being, buried under these stupid apologetic arguments that just don't fucking work.
Anyway,
I try to point that out
all
all the time.
I thought all that hermeneutics and exegesis they talked about was supposed to be looking at the culture and everything like what you just said.
No, they
I
throw
mean, they're
out
throwing words out there like...
the tendency is to throw out all Judaic teaching and wisdom on the matter. That's the general thing you run into.
The hermeneutics just means harmonizing or making all the things compatible with one another. Or understanding things in terms of understanding the whole Bible by looking at one part and comparing it to another part in a proper way. And exegesis just means trying to get out the intentions of the author. Eisegesis means trying to read your own thoughts or ideas into the text. So whenever someone like G-Man says exegesis, you have to exegete, what he's really saying is, no, you have to read my eisegesis out of the text in the way I do. So.
Yeah, I was getting the impression it had something to do with studying, like what Shadow said, studying the culture of the time and stuff like that.
They generally don't give a shit about that, which I think is horrendous, because they really should.
Yeah, but it seemed like that's what they're calling those words, as.
And to that note, I'm going to interrupt this for a second, because I'd really love to ask Gab to actually say what he just typed in the sidebar, because, yeah.
No, there are a number of verses in the Bible, especially Exodus. I'll post them as soon as I get a chance. I'll go fish it out of my bag. Several verses, especially in Exodus, that make it pretty clear that these laws were meant to be applied with an accompanying body of oral literature and discussion. It makes it very, very clear in a number of places. And if without this accompanying body of custom and tradition on how these laws are supposed to be applied and the minutia that they apply to, it almost really can't be kept at all, and this is often lost on people who have never attempted to keep it.
Yeah, and that's really above everything else. My number one criticism of Christianity is that they don't give a shit about the culture or traditions from which these things arose. They just don't care. And that's key to trying to understand this. I mean, hell, back when I was going after the Church of Scientology, I was going through the text and I'm like, okay, guys, please, somebody try to put this into some faith-based context that this could make some fucking sense, and nobody would. Or could, for that matter, in terms of Scientology. And I find that same problem with the Christians.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, aside from the fact there's actually a verse where it says, gather the 70 elders so you can debate about the law and you can apply it and everything. There's also verses where it talks about, when it comes to marriage, the Bible tells you absolutely nothing on how to perform a marriage, and it tells you that you're to pay the price, the father of a virgin, the virgin. It never specifies what that is or what that means. It says you're supposed to slaughter animals for meat in a very specific way, according to what you have been shown, but that process is never described anywhere.
Yeah, because you were shown it.
Right. I mean, and they issue the death penalty for quote unquote working on the Sabbath. The Bible does not always clearly define what work on the Sabbath is. Are we to interpret this as something, whatever you subjectively define as work, that's what we're going to hold you to? No, absolutely not. And if these people understood Hebrew, they would realize that it's very specific kinds of work. It's in work in English, there's actually 2 or 3 different words in Hebrew that can mean work depending upon the type of work, and it's only one type of work. It's a constructive, creative work like building, writing, erasing, plowing, reaping, sowing, stitching, things like that. It's not,
Yeah, the whole thing with gathering wood was because it was a specific kind of work. It had nothing to do with the fucking wood.
Right.
It wasn't, oh no, don't pick up sticks on Sunday. That's not what it was trying to fucking say.
Right. And the Sabbath isn't Sunday, but they don't know that either.
Well, yeah, I know, that's true. Sorry. I should have actually thought before I spoke. It's actually what, is it Friday at sundown till...
Friday at sundown till Saturday at sundown.
Yeah. It's totally different fucking thing.
Yeah, I used to work on the market for a guy who sold fabric, and he was Jewish. And although he didn't really mind that much, the company he worked for did, and so he wasn't allowed to sell fabric on Saturdays, which was the best day of the week to sell things.
What?
You're not allowed to do business at all.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Sunday was a great day because we got to Bradford, which was largely Pakistani Muslim place, and they would part with their money really well.
They didn't care what day it was.
No.
Yep. But yeah, I still though when I hear this, 400 prophecies in the Old Testament, what the fuck? That's like my number one hang-up. There was a time period that one of the Christians on here, and I think it might have been frickin' Shamos, was going to be having some debate with somebody about prophecy in the Bible or something. No, it was Peripheral Prophet. Was going to be having some debate with somebody about biblical prophecy, and I'm like, I hope you're not planning on going outside of what the Jews regarded as messianic prophecy. And he's like, oh, of course I am, because, there's this and there's that. I'm like, no, dude, that's not messianic prophecy. That's retconning from Christianity. You're going to lose this debate. Oh, no, because... fucking idiot. It's their fucking book. But it's just they don't care. It's like, I don't care who wrote it. I don't care what their intent was. I don't care what they were planning at the time. I don't care what they regarded as this, that, or the other thing. I care about how we've retconned this.
Yeah. Okay, what does that word mean?
Retcon, it's something that's common in comic books when you go back and rewrite and basically redefine what's happened in a story, even though it's already been written.
Mind-blowing.
It'd be, for example, if you were to retcon Batman so that it was his mother and not his father that got shot.
Oh, like
You'd be saying, well, all these stories previously have said this, but we're going to say that have this one say this instead.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Marvel did a huge
It's
thing a while back.
retroactive continuity.
Yeah.
It's to rewrite to an alteration of a previously established fact in the continuity of a fictional work.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Torchwood?
Yes.
Yes. They used a pill they called Ratcon.
Mm.
You know, and they forget their memory and don't know what happened. So they could rewrite it.
I'm running out of cigarettes. I should go get some more soon.
The problem with the Bible is there's that missing page, and it's the bit right at the start which says, "To my beloved Candy, all people in this book are fictitious and."
The thing is, when you're dealing with things like archaeology, for example, and there have been a bunch of people that have gone out there and tried to find evidence of the Kingdom of David and this kind of stuff, and frankly, they've been finding it to be not there in more cases than not, except for a couple people in terms of that. Well, from the Christian viewpoint, this would be a huge fucking deal. Well, the thing is, around this time period, the Jews had been enslaved by one culture after another, and if stories like this is what's required to keep your culture going and your civilization going, that's not a big deal. That makes perfect sense. We're going to make stories about, to keep people motivated and, being part of the culture instead of being absorbed into Babylon or Samaria or whatever. Instead of being absorbed in these other cultures to keep that cultural identity, it's not a big deal at that point whether these things actually happened or not. But Christianity hinges so much on all these things being these just ridiculous truths, meaning that, oh no, everything in here must happen exactly as it is written. That's when you really start running into problems.
Yeah, well, that was where I had this problem with Mark. The next one I had on the list was expert scrutiny. And I said, such as, usually these experts are people who already believe and thus have a biased opinion. Leader acceptance, great. World leaders once thought it was impossible to fly. They were wrong. Bush was wrong on Iraqi WMDs.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to run and get smokes. Keep the room going as well as you can. I'll be back.
Here's one for you, though, Cliff Jumper.
Yeah.
Please define a weapon of mass destruction.
Humans.
Yeah.
So if somebody had fighter aircraft buried in the desert in cold storage, would those be weapons of mass destruction?
No, because airplanes aren't weapons of mass destruction. Generally, it's the things they drop that become the weapons of mass destruction.
Well, actually, technically, they are a weapon.
Well,
They're part of that system of things you're looking for. Now, it's not weapons of mass destruction like, say, gas weapons, and biological weapons, and nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
No.
And
they are
still a part of that.
They're potentially
Yeah.
a weapon. It's like, yeah, a rock could be potentially a weapon.
Except the potential of rocks doesn't really go to that of, well, bombs and other shit.
Well, I'm just talking about the concept potentially.
I can think of
my little finger could be potentially a weapon if I hit the right spot.
I can think of an excellent example of weapon of mass destruction. G-Man, he has destroyed his reputation on numerous occasions.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that one.
Shut the fuck up, Max.
It usually helps when I say something, otherwise the joke gets old and stale.
Okay, shut the fuck up, Max.
No, you still killed it.
Anyway, the next one on the list was global influence. And I said, so what? Argument ad populum fallacy. I said the ARM processor first introduced with the Acorn Electron 30 years old has a bigger impact. It's virtually in virtually every cell phone, billions of electronic devices, and has had an impact on every first or second world country at one point or another. And then the last one was changed lives within each religion's belief system, but generated tens of thousands of denominations and differs from all other religions. How can you be sure yours is the right one? You can't. But science has changed more lives in the past 200 years than the Bible has the last 4,000. Vaccinations alone have saved more lives than Jesus.
By the way, I wanted to interrupt with a little news, or an update on news. For those who hadn't heard, Exiled and Brian J. have their visas. They can go home to the UK.
Cheers.
Now, and Exiled posted just a little while ago, tickets are booked for this Friday.
Hot damn. That's good.
So Brian has stopped bitching about not having his dual monitors. Finally.
He's probably like, I'm going home, baby.
Jewel Monitor says, what a lightweight. I've got 4.
Yeah. And it's going to be a lot nicer for the both of them. And Exile's issue of being over in the UK rather than bloody US.
Yeah.
You guys really got fucked up the ass with that blue not getting single payer.
Yeah.
Wait, Britain doesn't have single payer, do they?
Hmm?
Wait, does Britain have single payer?
They got the National Health Service.
Yeah. That's single payer, isn't it, Cliff?
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, your NIH, that's single payer or
NHS.
variation? Or NHS, sorry.
So
Your health.
I mean,
the hospitals are privately owned and the government pays?
oh, yeah, basically it's free healthcare for citizens.
Yeah, but is it single payer system or government owned?
Oh, yeah,
or
single
what?
payer, yeah, you basically, if you have a job, you pay.
So the hospitals are privately owned then?
No, the hospitals are publicly owned.
Oh, okay. So then it's not single payer.
Sorry, am I missing something when I hear
single payer?
Everybody stop. Cliff, explain how the system works.
Okay, when I heard single payer, what I was thinking of there was, you get a paycheck, you have a national insurance contribution that comes out of it, it goes to the NHS. That's basically it, and that covers your hospital.
Who owns the hospital?
The NHS own the hospital. That's owned by the government.
Okay, and a doctor, are they a private practice or are they part of that system?
That's one of those things that's changed in recent years. They used to be hired by the NHS, and the surgeries were hired by, were the NHS. However,
so basically it's a private doctor that just, they get paid to come do it.
Well, what they've done is they've effectively made the surgery, it's a private practice who supply healthcare to patients, and they have their own budgets. And they basically say, right, okay, these are the things we're going to do, and these are the things we can't afford to do. Another place will have to do those. So for example, my doctor's surgery may do diabetes stuff, like blood transfusions all the time, whereas another one may not.
Yeah, in Canada, the hospitals are governmentally owned, and all the staff are not, or the doctors are freelance, as it were, self-employed.
I mean, that has changed in recent years, like I say. Personally, I think it's a bad idea.
But are the doctors independently contracted?
Yeah, I think it's better for them to be state employees.
No.
But
no.
Why?
No.
Why?
Well, I'd rather have them as freelance.
Why? What would be the difference in the quality of theirs?
If they're employed by the state, then I don't feel you'd have a choice in the doctor you'd have to go to. Where if they're freelance, it's a private practice they run, you can choose as the patient.
Not to mention No, and I'd also throw in there that if they're all government workers, then usually what happens is doctors are more likely to leave the country and go to a place where they make far more money.
That happens in the single payer in Canada as well.
I know, but
because of, and a lot of doctors are coming back because it's bullshit. But
I agree.
But headless, it would, even if they were government employees, it would depend upon how it's structured and what the mandate of the patient would be. Right? They should be able to have that allowance to change doctors because not everybody fits everybody. Right?
That's why it's like them as by them being private practice, you're choosing the doctor you go to and you stick with them.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You were given a doctor, then you got to go through the hassle of getting another one.
Well, that actually happens in Canada here because even with them being private employee or individual employees or self-employed, there we go, because you have to go through the College of Physicians and Surgeons to be able to get a doctor. So that really is the same.
I know. It just, to me, I've always had it where that was the way the doctor was. That's how I like it. I wouldn't want to see the doctor being the state employee, where some of that choice may be removed.
Maybe. It depends on the legislation, yeah.
And then also, there could also be other things that could be mandated on the doctor now that they're an employee, which they don't necessarily do in their private practice or do in their private practice. Like it's bad enough when nurses go on strike. Would you want doctors going on strike?
Depends. If strike is the only choice that they have left, yeah. As long as they're being reasonable with what they're after, of course.
Like I said, that's why it's bad enough when the nurses have to do it. Yeah. Do you want to see the doctors doing it?
If they're stuck in bad situation like nurses, yeah, I would. And to be honest, it would be great public pressure if they are being reasonable.
Yeah, but this is lives that we're talking about. I mean, one of the main reasons we give to Yanks for their shitty free market system is, well, you do realize that you're putting lives at risk just to keep this as a private institution for some reason.
And technically,
I don't really see how this is any better when it's the reverse, when lives are put at risk just because of just because of union protests.
But that's a bit of a what's the word? Anyway, it's a bit of fallacy because same thing could be said if police go on strike, if teachers go on strike. You know, or crosswalk guards go on strike, or lifeguards go on strike. It doesn't really matter. Everybody's life is at risk no matter what, in no matter what, right? It would slow things down, and I don't think doctors would be that many psychopaths that wouldn't rotate some doctors in because, hey, people are sick and need the help. That's kind of reaching, I would say. Sorry, but that's.
There are some things in the UK that can't be done, and the police going on strike is one of them.
Usually, though, some things like police or fire departments are deemed as essential services.
Yeah.
So they, air quote, go on strike, but they don't really walk out on strike.
Limited striking, yeah.
Right.
There was, however, recently a police force in the U.S. that walked off duty.
Yeah. Yeah, but weren't they pretty well racist and thugs?
I don't remember what the situation was, quite honestly, but it was one of these situations that somebody did something that pissed them off, and they all just literally walked off duty.
I think they indicted the officer instead of letting him go free.
I don't know what it was. I don't remember the circumstance.
Yeah, I think it was they were basically being a bunch of whiny-ass children.
Might have been. I don't recall what the actual situation was. So let me look it up. Actually, that'd be smart.
Yeah. And by the way, you missed Exile posted. Tickets are booked for Friday.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And hey, Red.
Sup?
Hey, we actually got a camera. Oh no,
Red.
Never mind.
Red? Did you ever go look up Dippy Luck?
Yeah, so I went ahead and bought myself a full body suit. It was like a biohazard suit, and it was like, okay, I am approaching the Canada.
Oh, no. Oh,
I
you're
am-
going by Hamilton, aren't you? That place stinks, literally.
I was
Go
like,
around.
I am going to touch the Canada, and so I
Don't
went to go
forget,
touch.
When
I
you
was-
get here, you got to take home a can of maple syrup as a souvenir.
Oh boy! So I was like, okay, I'm going to touch the Canada now. Oh, I touched the Canada.
Oh, come on. It's like Wisconsin or up the upstate Michigan there in the peninsula.
Yeah, well, greetings from Niagara Falls anyway.
Yeah. We still have the better ones.
Hey, I went,
Are you looking at the Horseshoe Falls?
dude. I went into the horseshoe.
I'm going to Horseshoe.
What?
Yeah,
I went into the horseshoe. I took one of the little boat rides.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you didn't go into it. You got close to it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. By go into it, I meant I got drenched. I mean, fucking
Do
drenched.
you even realize how far you are from the waterfall?
Well,
I
shit, Red Lion,
couldn't
it's about time
see.
you got wet.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So,
Good job.
Without Phantom being involved, that is.
See, we don't
Roads
need
are
things
made
like
of
we don't need things like Niagara Falls where I live. It's just called the weather.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, but
your
Cliff,
shitty
when
weather.
you go ride the Maid of the Mist, it rains on cue.
Yeah.
They actually tell you.
Yep, that's what we had. Made of the Mist. That's
And
what we
everyone
went
goes,
on.
stands on deck and gets wet.
Oh yeah, I was in jeans and a t-shirt, and I was like, oh, I don't need this poncho. Then by the time I realized
Yeah, you
that
need
was
the
a
poncho.
that was a really bad idea, it was too late.
Yeah, all the poncho does is keep you damp.
But that was something. That was something. Yep, rode the Mist, and I went on the little docks that they have to replace like every year or something because they get waterlogged to hell and back.
Little docks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the hurricane tunnel.
Okay, I think I know which ones those are, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it
Red,
was,
has that bit of Duranism news I gave you come useful at all?
yeah, I posted a link up to so everyone can take a look at it. Apparently, he's denying that he's ever a scammer or that he's ever ripped anyone out of $80,000. Yeah,
Who are you
I'm
talking
sure.
about?
I'm sure he would deny something like that, little asshole.
Who are you talking about?
Some guy that thinks the Earth is flat. That's apparently a Bitcoin scammer.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, fuck. If you can scam someone with Bitcoins, go for it.
Yeah, that's basically what he apparently some guy lost $80,000 and Duranism was behind it.
Ooh.
I don't believe that for a second because he needed donations to buy his sorry ass a $200 laser.
Wait.
Oh please
What is,
donate to
what
me.
is he doing with a $200 laser?
He's trying to test for curvature by
Laser?
yeah, he's trying to shine it across like a bay or something and see if there's
fuck
any
off.
curvature or whatever.
Well, it's not like he's going to hit a helicopter with it.
Well, that's interesting. It won't actually bring me up stats for the current recording.
Oh, that sucks.
Let's take a look.
Somehow I don't think he's going to get curvature of the Earth that way.
Yeah, go
Short of
figure.
the distance.
By the way, I have a question. I wonder if Eric Clapton really thought she looked wonderful if it was just the 20th outfit she tried on and he just didn't want to be late again for dinner.
Who?
Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
What about him?
Tonight. I wonder if Eric Clapton really thought she looked wonderful or if it was the 20th outfit she had tried on and he just didn't want to be late again for dinner.
Not
Well,
funny.
doesn't every man do that when they come out and say, how do I look? You say, great.
Yeah, pretty
Of
much.
course, you know, if you don't say that, it's going to go all over again and you're going to be late for dinner.
Well, anyway, I was saying about what's his face, that Mark Thomas guy, because it's been a very long story. This. So his reply after giving him a load of data was, "Which stumbling block would you like me to help you move first?" And I just said, "They're not stumbling blocks. They're huge chasms in your system which you cannot fill. But I'm sure you'll try lame backflips like you tried with Hillary to evade the Greek rhetoric problem, speaking in tongues."
Hey, Cliff. No matter how large the chasm is, it can always be filled, provided one has enough bullshit.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's a lot of bullshit.
I said to him, you said it yourself, you're new to apologetics. You need to go and read some books and come back in a few years when you start getting a clue about what you're talking about, rather than copy and pasting verses that conflict with your claim. Really, I've got no interest in wasting my time on you anymore. That's it, I'm done with you. Don't bother replying, you'll only be wasting your time. And I gave in to myself, and because he came on with, "Hi, you can be ignorant if you want. Jehovah gives you over to your mental state. I respect that. Jehovah cares for you."
Yeah, I went back and forth with him on a comment thing on one of my videos a while back.
Which character is this that we're dealing with?
Mark Thomas.
Never heard of him.
Is he the guy in Nadia's Hangout a lot?
Well, he never says anything. He only ever types stuff at the side. Anyway, here's the best bit. This is the best bit. It's coming up to the punchline. I said, "Okay, tell you what. You answer my questions to your list. I know what you're going to say, so I shall type it into a notepad file. I'll also make a screenshot, so you know I haven't changed it later on. And when you replied, I share it with you. How's that?" So he came back with him and he said, "You said, how's that? That would be supernatural. However, I thought you did not believe in the supernatural. Are you psychic?" Smiley face.
No, they only believe in the supernatural in terms of the Bible.
Yeah, he'll sidetrack stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. This is wonderful though. This is what makes it funny. Okay. So
wait, Cliff. There's your the link to your post there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that my thread? Is it?
Yeah.
You gave me too many stumbling blocks all at one time. That's weird. He gave me a big pile of stumbling blocks. I went through them. That is a stumbling block itself. I would recommend we move one at a time. Smiley face. Then he starts to quote in scripture at me, James 2:24, 2-4. "I can consider it all joy, my brothers, when you meet with various trials," yada, 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 yada. "But let endurance complete its work, so you may complete in all sounds and respects, not lacking in anything." Lacking is the state of being without or having enough of some, or not having enough of something. Atheism is a disbelief or lacking a belief in the existence of God. Now, which stumbling block can Jehovah help us move?
It's like I was telling him when we were talking. It was like, I said, "Dude, I don't accept any of this." But he kept quoting Bible verses and said, "Well, what about God this and God that and God the other thing?" And I'm saying, "Dude, it doesn't matter. What you're asking me doesn't apply to anything. I don't believe in this character. I don't accept the existence of it." Then a day or two later, he'll start back. "Well, do you think God is this?" And I'm like, "Oh shit."
Well,
you have to be lying, remember, Heavy, because everybody knows God in their hearts, and you're just denying it. So he's just pushing it so it'll be revealed to you.
That's when you say, "Okay, so I'm done."
Please.
Heavy holler. Yeah, that's when you say, "I'm done. I'm now going to go seek sins of the flesh," or something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go play it myself. I'll get more out of it. Yeah.
There you go.
Redline.
What I do?
How long are you staying in Canada, Redline?
I feel dirty here. It's like I'm in this place called Not America. This is weird.
Have you been to a Tim Hortons yet?
Yes, I have.
And what did you order?
I didn't order anything.
Wait, you went to Tim Hortons and didn't get a coffee?
No, I didn't.
You should have gotten a coffee.
Yeah.
Bad boy, you need spanking.
I don't drink coffee.
You
Bad
can
boy,
get a
you
hot
need
chocolate.
baking. Could get a hot chocolate.
I don't drink hot chocolate.
Tea?
All right, Mountain Dew. Get it right.
They don't. No, Mountain Dew's not popular up here. We have it, but it's not popular.
I miss my home. Although I will say this, your flag is better than ours.
Oh hell yeah!
Thank you. I especially like my version.
Yes, your version's the best.
You may have missed a drag. What was it? Last week? We just out of the blue posted on G+. You know, I just realized what the leaf was in the middle of Paranor's avatar.
That's a Japanese maple.
It's like, you know, your flag is awesome because you don't have people bitching about how many stars are on it. It's like, oh, we'll have to change the flag. I'm like, look, I've been using a 51-star flag this entire time, and none of you have fucking noticed. So, what's the issue?
You watched it in the last week tonight, didn't you?
Hells yeah.
Did you see last night's? Yeah, last night's. The sex ed thing?
Sex education, yes.
Holy fuck! Talk about Jesus Camp too.
Yeah, exactly. It's I like the ending. By the way, if anyone ever tells you that a period makes you better at bowling, they are a fucking liar.
Yo, I saw that. It's like, wait a minute, I know that guy.
And he was back to finish it off.
Oh, that was beautiful. What was his name? He's currently in Don't Call Saul or Better Call Saul. Sorry.
Yeah. Right.
I think.
Here's my question: why did they call it Rainbow Bridge?
By Niagara Falls, it's probably because of all the mist coming off. It creates rainbow.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's a stupid name.
Well, the Canadian
it's actually somewhat logical. We'll give it some slack.
I call it the incredibly badass bridge.
Well, a bridge where rainbows happen, that makes sense.
We had it called the Rainbow Bridge because we called it the Bifrost Bridge. Everyone was going to Valhalla, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Are you in Niagara Falls itself right now, Red? Or?
Oh, I didn't stop there. I came back to the American side because American side awesome. They accept my money there.
We accept your money.
I was going to say, on the Canadian side, your money's worth more.
And it's accepted everywhere. 5 minutes across the border, they don't accept Canadian, except in Bangor or in Maine because, you know, they're smart.
Well, that's because your money's worth shit.
It's because a lot of Canadians go there.
Because in Maine, they all go, oh, wow, we got Canadian money now. Now we can go shop in Canada. Mm-hmm. They're smart that way.
See, no, all your money's worth nothing to us. Barely anything.
You should have seen the picture I posted on G+, the really crappy one from my cell phone.
The one at the falls?
Yeah, I was on the observation deck.
That was the American Falls, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the American Falls, and then I'm going to be posting one tomorrow of the Horseshoe.
Cool. Yeah, we did get the better deal.
You got to go to the Canadian side and get a photo of the Horseshoe Falls.
Yeah, they said, and I quote, only 10% of the water falls over on the American side. I'm like, wow, we suck at this.
Yeah.
And then so apparently you guys get 90% of awesome right there. We only get 10%.
And how's this, Red?
I was going to say, when we were originally coming up with the treaties, the people that were in charge of those treaties didn't understand things like tourist traps.
Or hydroelectric dams.
That too.
Or California drought.
All that water that you see going over the Niagara Falls right now, like all of it, is actually only a percentage of it.
Yep.
Because the rest of it's diverted to the Sir Adam Beck hydroelectric dam.
Yeah, and apparently that helped with the erosion because it went from, 10 inches a year down to like 1.
Yeah.
Also, that was built by Tesla, was it not?
He had a hand in it.
Yeah.
Cool. A whole bunch of people built it, but yeah, he had a hand.
Yeah, but he kind of designed it. That's the thing.
Why
He
does
had
Tesla
more of a
always get all
hand.
the credit?
Well, he created AC electricity, for fuck's sake. Yeah, he went nuts.
All right. Well, it's just that he had a hand in it. You know, it was his ideas and stuff. Okay.
Even a hand.
Well, either that or he didn't do any of these things, but just got the credit.
Yeah.
But
So
basically,
yeah, we.
if you were to allow all the water to go over the falls instead of diverting through the dam, it'd be fucking loud, and you would not be sleeping in those hotels.
No. And also, I think Westinghouse got all the credit eventually.
Yeah, Westinghouse. Well, Westinghouse worked with Tesla because Westinghouse liked Tesla because
Had money.
Edison was his arch nemesis.
Well, they bought all his patents for $1 because Tesla wasn't good with money and he really hated Edison. Hey.
Yeah, we actually went to one of the we paid for one of those tours and took us to one of the plants, and I realized a couple things. I was actually standing right next to one of the turbines that they had on display, and when they're shaped in such a way that it actually maximizes flow, maximizes the amount of spin per water, I guess. And two, they are fucking massive. I mean, damn, those things are huge.
You see the ones in Annapolis Royal in Nova Scotia. It's the Tidal Core project,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't remember how much it generates, but quite a bit. Quite a bit much just from the tide.
They said on the American side, it came out with what I think it was. I think it was like 31 million kilowatts or something like that. It was like per hour.
Yeah.
Damn.
Which is, a lot. And so now I'm in this nice hotel with surprisingly decent Wi-Fi, even though my tablet's only saying, we only have 1 bar of Wi-Fi. That's surprisingly good.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and just as a footnote, just for the sake of putting some kind of timestamp on this, we are currently a day and a half into the 18-day broadcast.
Yay!
And people have been coming in and out. You said you got your five max or top of 5 viewers today.
Yeah, we've gotten as much as 5 at any given point right now, but considering the thing's running forever, that's a shocker. We have 2 right now, and I'm not one of them. So, yeah, kind of cool.
Are you turning into Nadia?
No, these are all pre-recorded shuffles.
Oh, have you not heard about the porn troll?
Oh, I heard about the porn troll, but I did hear about something like a very, very long hangout shuffle.
Yeah, it's every shuffle Heathens has. It's 18 days long.
Plus.
Yep, 18 days worth of shuffles.
So,
And this
Cliff,
will be
you got
added to
catching
the
up
end.
to do?
I'm playing the entire history of the Insomnia Shuffle to the beginning, from beginning to end, and adding additional hangouts to the tail end of it that are pre-recorded, like this one.
So you've got some catching up if you want to do, Cliff. You can go watch it.
It's so fucking awesome.
No, I don't have it set so you can. It's not set to so that you can look back at what happened over the last 4 hours or anything like that. It's just going straight. There's no rewind.
I've done enough shuffles. I suspect I may have done at least one of those days.
Oh, you were in quite a few of them. Yes. Yeah. You were.
This was such that.
Yeah, Heathens, did you at least timestamp it so you can skip from one to the next?
What? No,
No,
I
no,
can. You can't. There's a timestamp at the bottom that shows how far you into the current episode, and then it goes on to the next episode and starts a new timestamp.
Oh, okay, that's what I want. So you can skip the episode, go to the next one, right?
No, you
Well,
can't skip.
No. You can't skip because it's being broadcast live.
Oh,
You have to leave and come back at X minutes
And when you
later.
leave
Right.
and you come back and you're in a totally different point in it, you've missed whatever was in between. There's
Oh,
no
okay,
rewind.
So there's no rewind, no fast forward.
No fast forward, no rewind, no nothing. It just
You don't get to
fucking
move the
straight
bar.
broadcast.
Is
Well,
it true
hold
they
on, history.
deleted the help thread?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they did.
Oh man, that's some bullshit.
And the only thing that came up on the Reddit, which I did on Nodwit's request, was a bunch of trolls.
Oh yeah.
No, they were SJWs because they were barking at you for not using trigger warnings.
Yep.
No, they said somebody's triggered and said I had my panties in a bunch.
Yeah.
Or sand in my vagina or whatever. And I was actually sexually assaulted. This is bullshit. It's like really? I've been sexually assaulted. This still fits the legal definition of sexual assault. So fuck you, asshole. Actually, I didn't respond. I know better not to. But anyway.
Yep.
You kind of saw that coming, though, Paranor.
Of course. That's why I'm not responding. Fuck's sake. And nobody else is.
Well, the funny thing is, when he showed it to me, it's like, well, what happened to me when I was sexually assaulted was so much worse. I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I really cared to, and I wanted to actually start an account on that stupid shit, I could put some stories that would make their fucking toes curl. They think they were fucked over? Mm. I know some fucking people that really got it bad.
Oh, wait a second, Paranor. Your section's been removed.
Yeah. What? That's been removed?
It's been removed.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
It doesn't say that here.
It does not. It does. I just followed the link you gave me, that you gave a few days ago. That's what I'm looking at.
The Reddit?
Yeah.
Are you sure it's the Reddit or the Google forum?
Reddit.com/r/Google/comments. Okay. And then I got someone is triggered. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And then you have the I was sexual assault survivor, blah blah blah. And then wow, what a waste of a read. Where was the trigger warning and pitchfork much?
Yeah.
And the original text you put in there was removed. So let's see what happens when I click the highlighting bitty here. And nothing happens.
Oh, I'm going to go. Just letting y'all know I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
You went to Canada. You're more likely to be alive.
He's actually probably healthier because he got health care when he's in Canada.
Son of a bitch, they did.
See ya.
See you, Tinker. Son of a bitch, they did. I'm not logged in on Chrome, so I just followed the link. Fucking assholes.
Not surprised.
Nope.
What was that I said in that thing you put up? Censorship much? Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Shadow. Would you mind if I start a petition to Google to
start actually fucking reviewing these claims? Please, by all means.
Alright, so how does that headline sound? Is that too vague on the subject? What do you think I should put it as?
You got to use the word hashtag stop Google rape.
No.
And by the way, and it's now Alphabet Incorporated.
Yeah,
Google
yeah. Alphabet took ownership.
Well, they created Alphabet to, it's a holding company only.
Yep. Yeah, the old CEO of Google is like the owner of Alphabet or something, and now Alphabet owns Google, so he basically owns Google again. So
and it's Jade.
Hey.
Yes, I decided to join you. I'm busy doing something, but I figured I could talk.
Hello there.
Well.
So, yeah, hello. We can hear you.
Hi, Bram.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
So, Jade?
Yes.
Have they finished their feasibility study of bringing icebergs from the Antarctica to California for the water?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Especially since they're breaking apart.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I've been watching old episodes of Salvage 1, and that was one of the episodes. Good old Lady Griffith. Let's go build a rocket out of junk in a junkyard.
Yes. Hello, Regina. Hello, heathens.
What's been happening?
Oh, I had an interesting conversation with some fundies about religion.
Well, actually, you've had a lot of interesting conversations today that you weren't just there for. You just didn't happen to be there for most of them.
Oh, okay. So were there lots of interesting conversations about me, or what?
No. You were actually participating in them.
Oh, I was. Okay, good for me.
Yes.
Good for me.
Did you not hear? Have you not heard of the current fiasco?
Oh, where you got flagged.
Yes.
Yes.
Because some idiot came in and on a little quarter-inch thing there was porn displayed.
Yes.
And Google would not ignored me when I went to contest it. So, in response to this, since the goal is to shut down my channel, I have downloaded a copy of every single shuffle I've ever ran, and it's being broadcast on this channel.
Oh!
It's 18 fucking days worth. We're a day and a half into it.
And right there is the link for you.
I kind of saw that come up in my feed, but I was great. So I've been busy, huh?
Oh yeah, you've been in several of the shuffles. We've aired a few of them, over a day's worth so far, about a day and a half worth out of the 18 days worth.
Actually, you're in there right now with your plant.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Any card to any shuffle that you're looking for where someone said something funny or really stupid, you just have to follow along and watch, and you'll find it eventually.
Actually, we went past the Prudent shuffle already, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think we've already gone past Epic Prudent Fail.
Well, I was actually, after my conversation, we started off with talking about evolution, and it was the end of one of Nadia's hangouts, and I want somebody. I can't find the discs to my software for never mind, but the only way I can get Nadia's hangout right now, or part of it, is to download the whole thing, and I don't want to do that, but I want that section where I had a conversation, or tried to have a conversation about polystrate trees. But then it went on into religion, and of course I'm a horrible heretic and all that stuff, and I was really surprised that there weren't a whole bunch of videos about what an awful person I am, because the funny part was that, as usual, nobody would let me finish something or explain why I had a certain position or what I meant by what I had just said. Instead, I just tended to horrify them.
Wow, shocker.
I know. I would say something, and they'd go, ah, 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 ah. I dared. That, I think the killer, I almost gave them heart attacks when they said, someone said, I don't remember who, there was Veckel in there, and teacher and administrator and Shamos. Oh, God, there was a real funny one with Shamos, I got to tell you. There's only two things I want to tell you, this and that.
Well, you had a real good audience, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, and it was me against them mostly. Well, no, there was this guy in there, Ludwig, I can't remember how he says it. Anyway, he's kind of a nice kid. But also Farad was in there, who's the Muslim guy who shows up sometimes. He's really cool. Well, anyway, so one of them asked me, so do you believe that Jesus performed the miracles in the Bible as written? And I said, no, not necessarily. And oh my God, the uproar to that. Oh, could you no? I said, because I don't think it's necessary for them to be literal. And yeah, I couldn't even bother to explain myself. But anyway, that really, I think I almost caused heart attacks with that one. But the fun one, and I think heathens will appreciate this. Ludwig, again, was talking about contradictions in the Bible. And of course, the fundies can't admit that there are any contradictions. So I brought up something inconsequential. It's a fun one that I like because it's a big fat who cares. Okay. There are two different versions of how the ancient Jews are supposed to do the new moon sacrifice. One is in Numbers, one is in Ezekiel. And in one, there's a list of you do this, you do this, you do this. This is the rules for the ancient Jews. In both of them, there's a list of stuff you're supposed to do. And in one, it gives, I can never remember the exact number, but in one, it says you're supposed to sacrifice these animals, and the other one, it gives you a completely different list of animals to sacrifice. Well, not completely different, but, different numbers, some extra animals or whatever. Who cares? Big deal.
A person with a brain stem.
Animals care.
Yeah.
A person with a brain stem at this point would say that's not theologically significant and be done with the conversation.
But that's not what happened, of course. And my point was, I said this is an apparent contradiction, and it was even hard for me to get out what I was saying because of all the da-da-da-da-da,
Yeah.
And I said, okay, it's an apparent contradiction. And I said it could just be that these are sacrifices were written down at different times. At one time in their history, they used a sacrifice. Another time in their history, they used another sacrifice. But the Bible doesn't say so. Because there's no explanation in the Bible, there is an apparent contradiction. But who cares?
Well, it goes
Shameless. Huh?
Sorry, we were actually having a conversation with Gav earlier tonight, talking about that the Old Testament screams of additional oral tradition. So it was probably just written down twice at different times, and oral got wrong.
And there's probably stuff left out because it wasn't oral tradition. And so.
It would also be modified based upon the animals that were available in the area at the time. Keep in mind they did have to keep moving around.
That's correct. There's lots of explanations, but the Bible does not give one, so there's an apparent contradiction. Now, but Shamos wouldn't accept that. And he said, well, maybe there's just 2 different ways of doing it. And I said, that's possible. There could be 3 or 4, but the Bible does not explain why. These are rules, right? It's a set of rules, and it's an apparent contradiction. This is the kicker of what he said, and I don't think he understood the implications. He said, but the Bible doesn't say that is the only way that could have been done, does it? So if the Bible doesn't say that that's the only way it could have been done, then it's not a contradiction. And I wasn't even, I said, you're adding something to it. He says, no, you are. And I said, no, you're saying that for the Bible, for there to not be a contradiction, the Bible must say this is the only way that this could have ever been done. Think of the implications for everything in the Bible. If it must say that something is the only way that it could have been done, according to Shamos, it has to say this is the only way that this could have been done. Think of the implications for the rest of the Old Testament, just to begin with. So, in other words, everything written could possibly be an alternative. There's an alternative. Shamos just said, well, there's an alternative. So forget this rule. Well, maybe there's an alternative. We just don't know about it. These people are so busy to win, so busy to prove that, oh my God, there's no contradictions. And in something so minor, and that's what Ludwig kept going. He said,
proof. I would say demand.
Yeah.
Because there's no proof in what they're doing. Like you said, they're out to score points. They want to win. So they're just demanding that it's this way, and that's it. There's no proof.
Yeah, but as I said, think of the implications for the rest of the Bible. Yeah. If Shamos is correct, and it has to say that this is the only way, how many things in the Old Testament say this is the only way?
Shamos is just fucked in the head.
Amos's attempts to square away contradictions in the Bible should be fucking legend. They're fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the resurrection narrative, what happens is, you have the whole thing with different people potentially being there. And I've heard the argument that, oh well, these were all at different times, whatever. But it tells the apostles in one account it's like, don't go anywhere. In one of them it's go meet me here, and another one is go meet me there, and if you were to look at these, you have Jesus appearing to them simultaneously in 3 different locations.
Well, he can do that. God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit.
Sure, fine. Jesus might be able to appear in multiple locations at the same time, but the apostles can't.
True.
Right.
So his counter to this, though, was, well, the problem is it doesn't say first. Or it doesn't say only. So you can't... what?
So 2 of them were the penultimate sightings?
So I'm guessing Jesus went to all these locations to meet them and told them to meet in all of them. He just didn't, do it in the right sequence. What the fuck bullshit apologetic are you trying to use? Boy, this is bad.
I think holograms and lasers make more sense.
And it's not important. That's the thing. Yeah. That's why I used the new moon sacrifice. Of all insignificant things, the freaking new moon sacrifice in Numbers and Ezekiel. Who cares?
But
yeah.
But the thing is, he's sitting there in law of non-contradiction. can't be the case and not be the case at the same time. I'm like, well, these three different locations can't be the case and not be the case at the same time. This is a contradiction. Oh, fucking well. And I even said it's not necessarily even theologically significant, but it is a contradiction. And he's like, it's not a contradiction. It doesn't say first and second and third. It doesn't say only go there specifically. I'm like, you fucking dumbass. Really? You can't acknowledge that there might be some minor contradictions that aren't theologically significant. Really?
All right, guys. I'm going to bed.
Okay, good night, Headless.
Night.
Well, even the early church fathers, admitted that there were things that didn't make sense. And if you look back at them, and you look back even at St. Augustine, who I know best, when they took the Bible literally, they didn't take it the way people do today. They didn't take every word literally. They were looking at the essence of what is being taught. St. Augustine would probably have cared less about the new moon sacrifice or how many people were here, there, or wherever. There's probably many of the church fathers would probably try to explain it, or they just say, well, we don't know. It's not, as you pointed out, it's not theologically significant. And we have these fundies today.
One of the authors of one of the Gospels might have been mistaken on a detail or two. That should not be a fucking deal.
And that is...
At the same point, if all four of them said to meet them in this one specific location, which incidentally didn't exist till about 100 years later, then you would have had a problem.
Right. And as for the 100 years later, somebody rewriting it that, well, nobody will know if I put down they were in Pirateville, so I'll have to put down a location that people will recognize. But that's the thing. Even for the last couple of millennia.
Thomas, why you doubting me? How about you be sticking your hand in my side and I'll be showing you that I am who I say that I am.
Exactly. Oh, and Talk Like a Pirate Day is coming up in September, and there's going to be another Talk Like a Pirate Day hangout. Because I said so. I love me some Talk Like a Pirate Day, I do. Arrgh. Anyway.
We'll have to do a pirate shuffle.
Yeah.
What does a pirate say the day after his next birthday after he's 79?
After what?
What does he say on his 80th birthday?
I don't know. What did he say?
I'm 80.
But
should
anyway,
have seen that one.
I should have. But for a couple of
well done, congratulations.
But for most of the last couple of thousand years, theologians have thought that only looked at what was theologically significant, as you said. And these modern day fundies are this word by word business that makes no sense and puts them in a position of justifying all kinds of crazy stuff. And taking the God of the Old Testament is the same as the God of the New, and that God really did tell the ancient Israelites to do all this stuff, so of course God is okay with murder and rape and slavery, but we can explain that! It's not really slavery! Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
They don't really get what an untenable position they're in, but they don't care.
When you're stuck inside the bubble of the slave mind, you can't recognize when you're full of shit.
Yeah.
It could
but it was
worse.
Interesting.
It could be worse, Jade. You could have been having a discussion with someone who all they do is copy and paste bits of the Bible without actual reference to what they actually mean.
Yeah.
So 90% of Christians.
Yeah, but at least they
real life or not.
First of all, Thomas, who just doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
They know They know as much about the Bible as True Rocket Ronnie knows about science.
Yeah. Well, he knows pretty much nothing. I think he just does a word search and then pastes whatever he finds.
Yeah. This Mark Thomas,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had conversations with him in chats before. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, today I had a lot of fun when I said, in fact, I'll show you on the screen share because it's easier. So we just had this long twisted thing. It's like, I'm fed up of listening to you now. Shut up. And so it got to this point where I said, I'll tell you what, you answer the questions on my list. I know what you're going to say, so I shall type it into a notepad. I'll also make a screenshot so you know I haven't changed it later on. And when you've replied, I'll share it with you. How's that? And then he makes the claim, effectively I'm claiming that I'm psychic, which is weird. But I just said, Mark Thomas is going to copy and paste bits of scripture to prove his claim. Of course, using the Bible to prove the Bible is true is a fallacy of circular reasoning. And sure enough, he did exactly that.
Well, do you remember when Matt Dillahunty had his debate with Matt Slick?
Yeah.
He had everything all, he knew what Matt was going to say. He had it all written out, exactly what Matt was going to say, and that's exactly what Matt said.
I thought that was Satan.
Yeah,
No, that was Saitan.
That was Saitan. Matt Slick was a different matter.
I'm sorry, that was Saitan. Mine, yeah.
Matt Slick went through his webpage line by line and explained to him why everything was wrong, and Slick used this as a way to try and refine his argument, which didn't fucking help.
Well, Dillahunty himself said that he didn't really have to do much because Saitan put up all his videos and explained his argument for him.
It's just
that, Matt. Not much. I think I pretty well said it right there. Thank you very much.
Well, I have, I guess, Matt Slick on the brain. I didn't watch his latest one except in the very beginning, and I left a comment about where the word fundamentalist comes from, because they seem to go, I don't know what does fundamentalist means. I don't know. What do you think? Chris Mowdy, what do you think fundamentalist means? And I'm like, what the fuck? Are you guys just stupid? And I left. I just kind of wanted to know what they were talking about. But that one with Epi, that one with Epi was just classic. That is one of the best, Epi/Max. One of the best examples of what a fucking idiot Matt Slick is. Because at the best part, with the last one, Epi left because he just went, oh, fuck this. He tried to tell Matt Slick, he said, I think that saying that God does, using the Bible to confirm that God does not lie is circular reasoning. I think there are better. Matt cut him off and said, so you think that God lies? And Epi goes, well, no, I just think that that's a bad argument. They're better. Well, but you're saying that God lies.
I kind of pounced on Epi a little bit after he got in and started talking about it in one of my hangouts shortly thereafter. Because I told him, I said, go to the fucking scripture. The scripture said God does deceive people.
Yeah. Specifically.
When a prophet speaks falsely, it is I, the Lord, that hath deceived him.
But then, afterwards, Matt Slick went and said, see, he said that God lied. Epi, Max, never said that God lied. Never, ever, ever said that. But Matt Slick said that he said that. It just was it. And the first part was really bad, too. But he doesn't listen. He tries to get people to where he says something that...
Hang on, though. I think it's unfair to say he doesn't listen. Because he clearly has a hearing problem. And you would, too, if your head was that far up your ass and all that.
That's true. He listens in the sense he listens for phrases that he can then jump on.
Yeah.
He can grab those.
Or keywords.
Yes, keywords. There you go.
Well, he tries to jump in there, change definitions, and then take the whole thing off onto his track. So, yeah.
This is what I said recently, that the way to get Slick, if you're going to have a debate with him, if you want to have a discussion with him, that's a different story, but if you want to have a debate with him and show him up, if you want to win that debate, that discussion, whatever it is, if you want to embarrass him, then the way to go about it is to have a quick thing. Just hit him quick. If you spend ages trying to explain something, he'll be waiting for that word, which can then leap on it and then divert it away from to where he wants to go. If you hit him quick, with a very quick response, he hasn't got time to figure out what to get back on his script. He's got a mental flowchart, and he's that flowchart to fit to the place, and there he'll take you to where he's got you mapped.
By the way, Jade, if you want to try to get him riled without really pissing him off, ask him about the jacuzzi he talked about on the Daily Show. I'd love to know what happened.
Oh yes, yeah, with his gay friend in the jacuzzi. That's right.
Yeah, because I know I mentioned his daughter. He just goes, but the other one actually may catch him.
I would, well, on some levels, I wouldn't mind having a conversation with him. At the same point, I know I'd get thrown out of the room. Because he'd eventually try to bring up morality, and I'd say, okay, I've got a question for you then on this note of morality. Can you explain to me how it is moral for a father to sit there and disown their child? Much as in the case of original sin.
Yeah, and especially if you think that child is going to go to hell if they don't accept Jesus. You're abandoning your child to hell. From your point of view.
So yeah, I'd get thrown out for referencing his daughter, and I'd do it in such a way that like in the case of original sin, and he'd, my daughter, blah blah blah. I'm like, what, daughter? What are you talking about? That's not what I said. Huh?
No.
Who?
Yeah.
You have kids? How many kids do you have? Oh, are they all theists too?
Yeah.
I would just play stupid.
But I've seen a number of people go in to talk to him about a certain subject, subject A, B, C, D, whatever. And within a few minutes or a few seconds, he suddenly turns it to a discussion of morality.
Yeah.
And real fast he tries to find out what your stance is. Are you atheist? Or are you Christian? Or whatever. And then he goes, okay, well, they're this is how I'm going to attack them. Yeah.
Well, once he gets you on the morality topic, he can bullshit his way because there's no end to it. There's no end game to it.
That's what I'm saying, though. I mean, the moment he tried to go to morality, I would be questioning him on the morality. I'm sorry, but I have a hard time with discussing morality with somebody that's willing to disown their daughter over disagreeing with them. I don't think disowning somebody for having their own opinion is, I don't think that that's a side of morality. So if you're claiming to have objective morality, I think you might be getting it from the wrong source.
Yeah, well, exactly, because it proves that he is immoral.
But he dumped me on his radio thing.
Yeah.
He dumped me on his radio thing because I effectively told, he knew that he was in a corner by when I explained about, the Canaanites and Amalek. Just go and kill them all, because effectively he said, look, why add the extra bit onto, is it wrong to kill babies for your personal pleasure? Why not just, is it wrong to kill babies? Let's just stick with that. Because if we do, this is the problem, if we do, you're in a mess because your God doesn't just think it's okay. He condones it. He orders it. He commands it. And he had no choice then but to boot me.
He also orders the rape.
Right, yeah.
Wait. No.
Indirectly he does not take the maidens as
No. It's not considered to be the same. What you're basically doing is you're bringing them into your household, you having them shave their head and not doing anything with them for a prescribed period of time, and then at the end of them, they're essentially your slave to do as you want with them. So there is some wiggle room pertaining to that, but these are basically women that are taken as slaves, and then there's the question of, are you truly raping a slave?
Yeah.
Now, I would certainly say yes, but based upon the context of the time, not necessarily.
No, because slave was not seen as human, basically.
Yeah. So that's a little bit pushing it, I think. Now, in modern context, it certainly fucking is.
Yeah.
But you have to take into some account the culture of the time and what was going on in the region and this kind of shit. That, and they were trying to be nice by giving them time to basically mourn their dead families.
Nice.
Good. Yeah. And a lot of the time, these women that were taken were given to children.
Did you hear me on the radio thing, Jade?
No.
I did.
Oh, sorry, Jade.
Yeah.
I think I did.
I did. Yeah, I thought so too.
The biggest thing was I told him that I wasn't going to jump through the hoops that he expected me to. I think that's the one that annoyed him the most, to be honest.
Yeah, you called him out on his bullshit, on his techniques.
Well, I said, look, I'm not going to jump through the hoops you expect me to jump through. This is, you know, this is just a silly. I can't remember how I said it now, but effectively, you know, I knew he was trying to trap me with this system that he has for atheists.
It may be your show, but you don't control me. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, he realized that he wasn't, you know, I wasn't going to be fooled by it. And so he had no choice but to dump me.
Mm-hmm. Well, either he does that, or Tim does that. And I've seen several times where Tim just, and to me the conversation was just getting good.
Tim's the producer.
Bible Thumping Wingnut. That's his name.
Yeah. Regardless, is he the producer or the front man of the show?
Well, that's exactly the reason why I wasn't going to go on the Bible Thumping Wingnut show. Why I did it on his radio show, because Matt Slick's the guy that's got to do it. He hasn't got someone coming to his aid when things start getting a bit tricky.
Yeah.
He hasn't
You went to the radio show. Oh.
Yeah, he went.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and sometimes there's that guy. What's his name? John, the guy with the eye patch.
Oh yeah, that's a weird guy. Isn't he?
He's a weird guy, and he's not a very truthful guy. He told some stuff about, I think, J.D. Kane that just simply isn't true. I mean, it wasn't really important, but it was like, oh, I talked to him for years, and and J.D.'s like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, something like that. I don't remember, but yeah, apparently he's just a little Looney Tunes.
Oh. Most of them are. The fundies, that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a mindset there.
Sorry. There you go. That's the link to it, Heavy, if you want it. I'm the first caller.
Okay. Okay, let me see.
I downloaded it. I'm going to make a video about it at some point.
I just had a thought. I know a lot of people named Tim, and most of them can't stand the name Timmy. Call Bible Thumping Wingnut Timmy and see what happens. Then he'll go off.
I don't see what the problem is. I kind of like being called Timmy.
Well, in some cases,
you know, Timmy Matters works as well as Timothy Matters.
Yeah, but that's a bit of a special case too.
Well, that's true. I was not born with a name. You're right.
Sorry. What is your name?
Baranor.
No. I was talking to Heathens. It's like, what is your name? I mean, do you even have a proper name?
My pen name is Timothy Matters, and I'm known on Facebook as Thurston Heathen. So, you know, take your pick.
And on YouTube, 13 Heathen, 13 Shadow Heathens, and yeah. And
I've got that saved for later.
Yeah, and most of them still operating, no matter what.
Technically, they're all legal pseudonyms, so that's fine.
Oh my goodness!
Weird thing about
I can get my name changed to Heavy Hauler.
Weird thing for me is that I almost find it a little.
Wait,
bit
it's
weird
not Heavy Hauler.
Huh?
Sorry. I said, wait, it's not Heavy Hauler. That's not your real name. Sorry, jackass.
I like that. I love the name of it.
Weird thing for me is that I find it feels strange to be called Dave now.
Yeah, because you've been Cliff for so long.
Dave's not here.
Yeah, Dave's not here, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to meet Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Ra, and I, meeting other atheists there, and I was like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, and I froze for a moment because I'm thinking, well, do I use my internet-y name or do I use my normal name?
Cliff, it's not uncommon for that to happen, especially when you're in theater. You forget your own goddamn name and you just think of your your current cast name. You don't know anybody. You just know cast or character names. It gets problematic. Then you have to ask, who do you mean by who am I? Are you mean my character or who I am in real life?
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I've done theater.
Because if somebody's forgotten your character name, that really opens up the question.
Well, and if you're playing in an orchestra with some people, especially if you're I get in theater, if you're in the orchestra pit, and you're just playing something for a short period of time. Sometimes you don't really get to know people that well. You just go, oh, you know who I'm talking about, trumpet.
Yep.
Depends on what kind of person you kind of are too, like personality. Like, who am I? Like, you mean right now, or?
Of course, what comes to mind for me is hanging out with a bunch of Christians and to try to be snarky when I basically was talking about, this whole thing of, what's God? What do you mean when you say that word is kind of incomprehensible? Their response was, well, who are you? That this whole trying to use that as a counter and to be snarky, I turned and said, I am that I am. And the immediate response actually shocked me.
The funniest thing for me
that they gave me was, "Oh, great! So you're Popeye."
Did they say that?
Yes.
That is went to Popeye.
That is the same phrase.
Popeye. I'm like, I was sitting there quoting Yahweh. You just directly called Yahweh Popeye. You fucking moron.
Yeah. I am what I am. Damn.
I is what I is. That's what it is. Ice is what ice is. Yeah, exactly. But no, I use that same line with the Jehovah's Witness that ran away on me. Because we got into that, well, who are you without God, whatever. I said, I am that I am. Why aren't you? And it just ran through his head, and it just clicked, and his eyes popped with understanding, and then boom, gone. Never seen him again. They haven't come back to the door. Yay!
He dropped out of life and fucking went on a Grateful Dead tour or something.
I would hope so. I would hope so, because he really looked like he needed a date.
The most amusing thing with my name is that thanks to Richard Raspberry, after the whole me having a go at Jason Burns for being a dick in Manchester, he sort of made a video saying, this Clifford, and so I ended up sort of, Alex Botton started to call me Clifford J. Umper the 24th, I started calling me Clifford. And then later on, when he started the Aristocrats thing, I then became Clifford J. Umper the 24th, because of course they're all, photoshopped in period costumes from the 1800 soldiers and things like that. And so it was kind of amusing looking at it like that. And then the other day, I had Trey Jadlow call me Clifford.
No.
It's just funny.
Actually, it's funny because my original name on here, is my real name, and I kind of started to become uncomfortable with having my actual name because nobody seems to have their actual.
No, it's actually you're better off having a small footprint and leaving a degree of anonymity. I had a bunch of dipshits trying to drop me the other day, and they came up with Timothy Matters as my name, and I was sitting there giggling the whole time.
Right. Well, see,
if they couldn't find an address, they had Timothy Matters as the name. They had the wrong fucking phone number.
Right.
It's like, okay, y'all fucked up, dudes.
See, I actually known by more of my friends and my gamer tag, because I play a lot of online gaming, as Logic, and that's more my name. So I kind of tried to use my gamer tag, and it seems more natural now when I hear people call me by that. I don't mind. Obviously, you guys know my name, and I don't mind people using my name. But getting around with newer people and stuff. Or people that might have an agenda against you, if you want to speak out against them or something, it just seems more safe to not.
Well,
have it out there.
Back in the late '80s, I ran an online network. I ran a bulletin board. This was long before the actual real internet became a thing.
I remember that.
On that board, I used the ID of Ron Hawks. Now, people would walk around and they thought this was my actual name. So anyone trying to get information on me would go on a wild goose chase trying to figure this shit out. It was a safety thing. It was a protection thing. Even back then, I was acutely aware of this kind of crap. But on other systems, I would use like Great Wolf and this kind of crap. I mean, this was a long fucking time ago. And I'd be walking around stores, and people that knew me by my online IDs, I could tell exactly what system they knew me from, whether they said, "Hey, Great Wolf," or "Hey, Raw, how's he doing?" And I started answering to either.
Yeah.
By the way, I got goodies in the mail today.
Oh, what'd you get?
I got my
as a brief reference for the sake of Jade, and perhaps a couple others that might have been paying attention, Axel and Brian got themselves something in the mail today, too.
Yeah.
I hope you all got the update as well.
Yep.
Woohoo!
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm thrilled for him.
I know.
New mask.
Ooh.
This is what I wear at night.
Yeah. For
Yeah, I have one of those myself.
Oh, for kinky
sleep
times.
apnea.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I try
kinky
not to
times.
wear mine as much as I'm probably supposed to.
What? No leather and spikes?
No, but there's Velcro. There's a bunch of Velcro for you.
There you go.
That's the chin strap. You know, there's no ball gag involved.
Oh,
But,
by the way, Jade, I'm working on getting another hat assembled at some point. Can you keep an eye out for another skin for me?
I will. I'll send the word out again.
Cool.
What's your pressure setting, Lava?
I can't remember what I actually, because I don't use it as much as I'm supposed to, but I use the just the nose instead of like the full face.
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah, I've got nose pillows as well. I have a chin strap to prevent my mouth.
Yeah. I can't remember what mine's set at now, but
mine's at 18 centimeters cubed. It's about a 60-kilometer-hour wind going up my nose.
yeah, it's pretty. It's uncomfortable for my girlfriend to listen to. That's for sure. She doesn't like it.
Get her earplugs and wear it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm harsh on this. I don't know about you, but I reach REM deprivation while I was driving cab.
Well, that's the thing is I have that along with my narcolepsy, so it's like when I'm supposed to sleep when I'm supposed to, like every little bit of chance I get to get normal sleep, as I'm not gonna prevent myself from it. I don't wear it as much as I'm supposed to. I mean, I'm really horrible about it because I'm a little younger and just not as responsible as I should be, I guess. But when I do wear it regularly, it does. Boy, it does make a difference.
It makes it's like lifting one out of a depression.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, when I got diagnosed, I did the whole sleep session. So I had infrared camera, audio. I was wired here, there, and yon, and everywhere. And within 15 minutes, I was diagnosed. And over a 2-hour period, they had me on a CPAP and adjusted the pressure rating setting to find mine. Now, know that I was 36 hours sleep deprived before I even went there. And when I woke up after that 2 hours, I was up for 48 hours more because I just couldn't get the fucking sleep. Because in that 2 hours, I had more quality sleep than I probably had since I was 13. I was diagnosed at 27. And it when I got my CPAP, it was like being lifted out of a depression. So, for your own good, I say do it, but I'll shut up.
No. I mean, it does. It had when I got diagnosed with it, I kind of, like I said, I got diagnosed with both at the same time. I was in for my narcolepsy, and they basically realized at the same time that I had sleep apnea also, and they're like, because I've been for multiple sleep studies because of because of the other condition too, is that they're like, you probably haven't had yourself a good night sleep in years. They're like, literally, you probably haven't had a real good night's sleep in so many years that you probably are gonna start to notice a huge change because of your lack of, actual good REM sleep that people get on a normal basis.
You feel like Tigger. That's how much energy I had.
Yeah.
That's about the best I can describe it.
You mentioned the nose thing. Is it just over the ear and two little?
Here, I'll demonstrate.
I mean, it's not a mask. It's just two little.
No, it's a mask.
Oh,
It's
it is
a mask.
Oh, okay.
It's officially a mask. Yes. It's made out of industrial grade silicon rubber. It's the same thing they use for dildos and vibrators and that. It's really soft on because they developed it. The sex industry developed it first. So, but it degrades in light, so you don't keep it out. But I got to take my headphones off. But no, you barely feel it really when it goes on.
Hang on. Para, at some point when we're off air, ask me about my best friend's adventures in snorkeling.
I'm an elephant now. But that's basically what it is. I get, except for the weight of it, I can't feel anything. So it's really not irritating much.
Mine's a little different. Mine goes totally over my nose, how a face mask would go, but it just goes over my nose.
I have a really deformed bridge here because my first one was a BPAP mask, which went over the whole thing, and I had to have it on too tight. So.
Shadow said sometime offline, ask him about his friend and snorkeling or something.
Ooh.
Because you had your headphones off, you couldn't hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew it was saying something.
The reference was adventures in snorkeling, actually.
Oh, okay.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, my partner had a thing that came around, and just two little tubes, So we had to be sure. And of course it made noise, but hey, you can live with something like that,
Yeah, but that's oxygen supply.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was oxygen. It wasn't under pressure.
Yeah. This isn't. No, this is pressurized, just normal air. It just takes it out of the room with a filter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you still moisturize it any, or?
It does have a humidifier on it. Okay. Yeah, this one does. My other one, oh my God, it was like glass in my nose, the snot. Yeah. Right? Sorry to be graphic with that one, but it hurt. It would cut your skin on the inside. But, what was I going to say?
I think I'd rather be listening to my friend's weird sexual escapades with the gas mask than this, honestly.
Where's Jello?
Oh, never mind. No, not Jello. No, different friend, obviously.
Yeah. Somebody surprised with Jello.
I'm thinking out of the loop here. What is that for?
Off air.
No. I mean, what's the mask thing for?
Their thing. Okay.
Sleep apnea.
I have, and Lodge as well, sleep apnea.
Is that the one where you stop breathing in the night?
Think of a balloon, just a regular balloon, right, that you get at kids' parties. When it's all flaccid, downhill.
There's that word again.
Wait. That's my throat when I'm asleep. The muscles and tissue just relaxes so much, it just collapses and creates a vapor lock. So what the CPAP does, continuous positive air pressure, it's like taking that balloon and blowing it or filling it with air, and just to the point where it starts to inflate, but no more. And that's what it does. That's the basic physics behind it, and it just pushes all of it out of the way. You breathe normally, no real issues with it. You just have to make sure you keep your mouth shut. Right, because it's like walking in front of the wind with your mouth open. You just pulls the breath right out of you. Right, so that's chin strap is usually needed. Not everybody has to, but
Yeah,
it's and what it with me, I was having in an average 8-hour period, an average 250 episodes a night. So between 15 seconds and 2 minutes, I'd be not breathing up to 250 times on average. That's my O2 stats went down almost to brain asphyxia.
Yeah, I used to know a big old bear but he'd snore very loud, and all of a sudden it'd get quiet. And sometimes, you know, like if you're close enough, you're like, damn, he ain't breathing. You know, and several times, well, I'd heard a little bit about it, but some friends that went camping with him or whatever, you know, they'd actually shake him, you know, to get him to wake up or start breathing because it scared the shit out of him. Because it was just dead quiet, no breathing.
There's two ways to notice that you may have sleep apnea. Somebody else hearing you sleep, or a very sudden increase in car accidents.
Yeah.
And when I was driving cab, I had 2 accidents in 2 weeks. I have a clean record. And I remember just driving, and then boom, I'd lose focus, and my mind would instantly snap into REM state. And I was somewhere else. I was just ran into a parked car the first time. Second time, I fell asleep on it. I just put the radio down, started making my turn, fell asleep on the turn. And fresh powder had just come down, so you could see my tire tracks. It was a perfect circle. Trouble is, I went up on a curve, and I was literally teetering. And the hill was down here, and a bunch of trees. That would have hurt.
Yeah, I used to go to boarding school, and I've known one guy who had completely the opposite of sleep apnea. He only seemed to breathe in. You know, it'd just be like... And you'd be thinking, breathe out for fuck's sake!
Just very silent on it and slow. Probably. There's actually a couple forms of it. There's the most common obstructive, and then there's the neurological. Which one do you have, Logic?
Mine is basically where as I exhale, I don't want to breathe in.
Okay,
so I'll exhale, and then I stop breathing. And all of a sudden your brain has to take over. It's like, then all of a sudden you'll kind of gasp.
Yeah. So you have the neurological hiccup, that version. Yeah. That's it goes along with I would think it would be the neurological one, since you also have narcolepsy. So, yeah. Sucks, but yeah.
Yeah, like they said, like, you know, when they first tested me, they're like, oh, well, you stopped breathing like 300 and something times last night. I'm like, what? Wait, what? I'm like, they're like, you know, sometimes it can be for, you know, seconds, or, you know, but they're like, and then, you know, sometimes it can be multiple, you know, seconds, or, you know, up to 5-10 seconds where you actually deprive your brain enough of oxygen where you know, it actually has to take over and physically make you gasp for air.
Survive. The animal wakes up and takes control.
Yeah, exactly.
The sleep paralysis goes away. That's why you hit REM deprivation, because there's no sleep paralysis. You can the cleansing system of all the toxins can't go ahead and do its thing.
Right. And that's one thing I've actually had problems. Well, I've had throughout the years too, is sleep paralysis, which is, if nobody's ever had it, that's one of the scariest things that I've ever probably had happen to me. Like the actual real sleep paralysis, where your mind is physically awake but your body's still asleep. It's terrifying. It's a terrifying experience when. I mean, no matter how many times, it's happened to me multiple times throughout my life, but no matter how many times it's happened to me, it's still freaking scary. Even if you realize that's kind of what's happening to you, there's the way, like, the type of thinking that goes along with sleep paralysis is part of the whole experience, but it's it really is. It's scary. It always feels like there's somebody out to get you, but you're totally of a sound thinking consciousness, but your brain hasn't basically communicated with your body that you're supposed to wake up. So you're thinking you're wide awake, but you're basically totally paralyzed and are helpless to the whims of anybody's.
Yeah. You're locked.
You're afraid somebody's going to do something to you, or somebody's coming in to steal your children, or just always the worst case scenario, and you're not there able to defend yourself or do anything about it.
Panic. It's the
worst. It's the worst dread that you could imagine, on top of being totally helpless. It's the sense of helplessness that really gets to you, I guess.
That is scary.
It is. It really is. Some people, they'll say will only experience it a couple times in their life, and I've experienced that. I wouldn't say all the time, but at least a couple times a year, probably for the past 10 years. But even when I kind of realize that it's happening, or that it's what's going on, there's still no way to curb your helplessness, or the scariness behind it. Because I really looked into it, and they say that really what they think it is because your body or your mind releases a chemical that stops you from acting out your dreams. Stops you from, it puts you in that paralysis while you sleep, so that you don't act out your dreams, or you don't get up and sleepwalk and things like that. But they think that it's kind of like the reverse happens, when your mind comes out of that sleep state. It's coincided with your body to kind of act as one. So you're slowly coming out of that. You're able to move around and even like roll around or whatever. But it's like being in REM sleep, but your mind totally comes out of it, but your mind or your body's totally still in it, and it's like almost helpless to catch up until it really wants to, I guess. It's a scary because one thing I don't like about it is that even science doesn't know a lot about sleep paralysis as to why it happens, and there's not really anything they can treat.
Well, we were talking a bit about sleep paralysis with the lucid dreaming out-of-body experience, and astral projection bit. Shadow, do you remember exactly what we were talking about with sleep paralysis part? Because if I remember, I think it was mostly yours.
Well, sleep paralysis is just part of the standard sleep process, so to speak. As you enter into REM sleep, you enter a state of sleep paralysis, and it's to prevent you from doing things, evolutionarily, like falling out of trees and shit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like they say, it stops you from even say when you dream, like I was saying, it stops you from acting out your dreams. It basically puts you in that state of mind that you don't just move, and it kind of your mind and your body are acting as one. But
yeah, the thing is, those things
when you get enough and you get into dreams,
when your body's sense of location, the avatar self, so to speak, isn't corresponding with the actual physical location of the body. But this kind of experience only becomes possible when you're in the state of early sleep paralysis, when your body's unable to move, but your brain hasn't quite recognized that your body's not doing dick.
Yeah.
And this happens to try and prevent us from doing things like walking off cliffs, falling out of trees, this kind of shit while we're in that sleep state. This way, your actions with your brain can't make your body move while you're in the sleep state. Now, sometimes this fucks up and people wander around the place, but yeah, we got a problem. But that's not, that sleepwalking is not like a normative behavior.
Walking off cliffs isn't a problem if they're only 6'4" like I am.
Unless you mentioned.
Hang on. I've got to object to that because I really think if I started walking off of you, I might hurt my ankle.
See, it's funny that you guys are talking about lucid dreaming. I really didn't understand lucid dreaming because I guess because of my narcolepsy, I do it a lot. But I still don't understand lucid dreaming as people saying astral or the projection phase of it.
That's because I hadn't actually gotten to that part yet, technically speaking. I'd gotten the start of it, but I didn't really get far enough into it, mainly because I was going after people with their stupid claims about what they claimed to be doing while they were doing it. Now, the thing is, astral projection is kind of horseshit.
Right.
All it is really is, as you're lucid dreaming, you're also having an out-of-body experience, so you feel like your physical self is not where your body is. And this is what most people are referring to as astral projection. Now, realistically, this is simply an out-of-body experience, but they're applying a different term to it. The notion of astral projection, the key part of this is the term astral, which is the notion of traveling to other worlds, the astral realms, this kind of stuff. And a lot of people that are using the terms now are just talking about lucid dreaming with a sense of actually physically being somewhere else.
Right.
They're talking in some cases about out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming, or a combination of the two. Astral projection is technically supposed to be a different phenomena in that you're supposed to be going places, in the spiritual sense, in which you're interacting with other realities entirely. Now, this can be quantified and broken down much further, yada, 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 but really what it is it's the point at which the person that's effectively lucid dreaming is able to influence their environment but hasn't fully come to the comprehension or realization that they're dreaming, because in their mind, even though they may have control of what's going on in that dream state, they are not accepting that they're awake.
Right.
It's
Okay,
that little thing that you're fully understanding that, oh shit, well, I'm awake in my dream. That cognitive process hasn't fully kicked in.
See, I was just learning about, I was just kind of reading about there's an actual term for, I don't want to say, but more of like the out-of-body experience when you become so situational aware of your surroundings that you can't actually physically dream, or say like lucid dream, and have the sense of being able to look back at yourself.
Oh, yeah.
There's an actual, like, it's actually medically, I don't want to say medically proven, I can't remember, it was a couple weeks ago, but it's not unknown for a part of your brain to work like that.
The first video I did covered this, and it was referencing a TED Talk on just that topic. Now, what it is right behind the right ear, there's a center of the brain, and unfortunately, I can't show you the diagram on my head, but it's basically right here behind the right ear.
Right.
And this part of the brain controls what they refer to as your avatar self. It's your physical spatial awareness of where you are. Now, your brain fills in the gaps with a lot of things, much like with the blind spot and this kind of stuff. So when you have the sensation of hovering above your body, some people's brains will fill in the location of where their body actually is.
Right.
So you have the sensation of not being in your body, and this avatar, so to speak, the psychological construct of who you are. And for some people, it's a mirror image. On some, it's not. It varies highly on an individual basis. But a lot of people that have these sensations don't see their full self. Or when they do, they have to look at themselves in pieces.
Right.
So you look at yourself, you look at your face, you look at your this, you look at your that. But if you're looking at the whole, it lacks the detail. So to actually see the detail of, yourself there, you have to hone in on certain locations. You have to focus in on the head and shoulders, the chest area, etc. With a lot of cases, if your brain's not trying to process the full image properly. So this is another commonality that you'll see in these people that have these outer body experiences. It's either this vague kind of fuzzy, less detailed, or when you have the high depth, you have to really be focused in on certain regions.
And if the TED Talk, if I remember you mentioning, also talked about being able to electromagnetically zapping that area.
When they zap that part of the brain with a little bit of electric jolt, you immediately have an out-of-body experience. Immediately.
Yeah.
You said, yeah. That was another thing, was that they could actually manipulate the part of the brain for it to actually occur.
Induce.
Induce it so that
just a little bit
to show that it's in your brain.
Yeah, a little electric jolt to that region of the brain, you're there.
Yeah. And also,
you said there's a TED Talk that you.
Yeah.
Is that what you just said? No shit. I'd like to see that.
Go to my channel. There's a video up there talking. I don't remember the title of it. It's on lucid dreaming, astral projection, and outer body experiences. And in the links for it, it has the links to the 2 TED Talks that I cited during it.
It's under the shadow healings, right?
Yeah, it's under shadow healing. Yeah.
And by the way, with my
think it's the last P-Woo that was put up officially.
I think so. Also, I have borderline personality disorder, and for me, it's gotten to a point where that area, there's something going on because my body typically feels slightly off than where I actually am. And my left side it senses as if it's smaller in a way.
Well, the thing is, this is the sense of where you am. For example, if you take a very obviously fake hand, put it down there, and put a blocker, something to block your vision of your actual hand, or you have somebody simultaneously rubbing the fake hand and yours, and then you go to like stab the fake hand with a knife, you'll move your actual arm because you'll start associating that fake arm with your actual arm. Similar things can be done with images that are being projected in front of you, in which somebody's rubbing your back at the same time as the other thing. You will start interacting with it as if that is part of yourself. And they're doing some experiments with this pertaining to things like limb replacement and this kind of stuff, so that you can start associating things with
Ready, go.
False limbs to the point that it might as well be a real one in terms of sensory input.
And I put that video,
the actual artifact.
I don't know. When you say you got borderline personality disorder, which side of the line are you on? Having the personality or not?
Cute.
I'm a madman. I fluctuate.
I can't resist adding this as you guys are talking about astral projection, but you may have missed this segment. Do you know who believes in astral projection?
A lot. Who?
Matt Slick.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, he did. And this is actually funny because I was laughing my head off. He was telling this story. It was in one of the last, not the last one. I didn't see the last one, but one of the two before this Sunday's. He's talking about spirituality and spirits and stuff. And he talked about how his mom saw this ghost of the man in black, okay? And that he would like appear in the room and then disappear. And I don't remember the whole story, something about him as a baby and the man in black looking over his crib or whatever. Okay. Then years later, he was, I guess, in high school or something, and a friend of his told him he could do astral projection.
Okay.
And Matt Slick said, okay, so if you could do that, come visit me at night. I'll be ready for you or whatever. And so the guy didn't show up. The Matt Slick goes and asks him, well, why didn't you show up? And he says, well, I tried to enter your house, but there was a man in black stopping me.
Okay.
Now, the part that made me laugh is man in black. Seriously? Did you understand this is an archetype that is incredibly common in our culture?
Hang on. I've got to put something in here. Not astral projection. That would be dream walking.
Right.
Different phenomena.
But the guy said it was astral projection.
But and then
I know.
This is the thing that I give the New Ager shit about, is that they talk like they know what the fuck they're talking about, and 90% of the time they're talking about something else.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
But
lucid dreaming / out-of-body experience. Oh, I was astral projecting. You're not going anywhere, you retard. And what that's talking about, if you're trying to go and visit somebody in their dreams, that's a dream walking.
Right.
Totally different thing.
Yes, it is a totally different thing. But anyway, Matt Slick thinks it's about astral projection. He thinks that
he's an idiot like
he was like, but when he's telling the story, he was kind of like, ooh, he couldn't get in. It was the man in black.
That's right.
And I'm just cracking up. I mean, the man in black is an archetype. It's just, Are you that dumb? Yes, of course.
Drives you nuts.
Couldn't believe he said that, though. I'm just sitting there open mouth going,
I was actually got kind of annoyed because I watched might have been Hillary you pointed me to it, or Positively Godless. Anyway, in one of the episodes he made reference to his Asperger's, and he made it sound, he described it as we're all broken people, and then went on to talk about his Asperger's, which I don't think he has.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, but I wouldn't give up being Asperger's for anything. It's a gift, as much of a curse. So why does he equate that with being broken, damaged? You know, it's that whole Calvinist, we're all broken people, we're all sinners.
But this is something that not only people with Asperger's say, but people with other disabilities, so to speak, quote unquote. Okay, there are people who are deaf that don't think they have any disability at all. They have this marvelous culture, this deaf culture, and they don't see that they're disabled at all. I've known people who are in wheelchairs that they. This is kind of where the term differently abled comes from. I know it's kind of a PC, fuzzy term, but you will see a lot of people who will say, "But I'm not broken. Please, just because I can't walk like you, just because I can't hear like you, just because I don't process information the way you do, whatever, it doesn't mean I'm broken. I am a complete human being." And this is also something that members of the LGBT IQ, let's put it all in there, community also say, because you will hear people talk about trans people and say, well, you've got a birth defect. They get pretty upset by that, a lot of them. No, this is just the way I am. And in an ideal world, I could just be myself. But a lot of trans people do not like it when someone says, oh, you've got a birth defect. Because it's that whole world defect. No, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just trans. That's it. All there is to it. Nothing wrong with me. And intersex people are coming out now. On my Facebook, I linked to an article by a woman who was born intersexed, and it took her a long time to come to understand what she was. But intersex people are coming out, and one of the reasons they're coming out is because people are doing this surgery on infants so that they will look normal, and in some cases they're doing it the wrong way. The little boy is actually a little girl or whatever, and sometimes they're doing surgery which damages the genitals to the point where maybe it looks okay, but there's no sensation. So just to make your baby look okay in a part of the body that nobody's going to freaking look at, you've ruined their sex life. Or seriously damaged it. So intersex people are coming out and trying to say, stop this. There's only one country in the world that outlaws genital surgery of this type for children, and it's Malta, of all places.
That is odd.
And it has to, it is odd. As a matter of fact, they had the big intersex conference at Malta because of that. But this is, again, intersex people are starting to come out and say, I'm not broken. I'm the way I am, and for a number of the stories I've read, their biggest problems have been that somebody did surgery on them as an infant and screwed them up, and in some cases causing them lifelong pain because things don't always fix right.
Because they think they know best.
Right, exactly, and a great deal of psychological distress. Sometimes people don't know these things about themselves until they become adults.
Well,
this woman
there was a Canadian psychiatrist or psychologist who.
This is her, I think. She's a sociologist. She teaches at a university in Quebec.
No, there was this guy who did experiments. He took a I can't remember if it was a perfectly gender.
I think I know what you're going to
go. Not a trans, but he gave a section or raised as a boy or a girl or something.
I know that was
John Reimer, David Reimer, sorry, the John Money one.
Yes.
Yeah, basically it was a kid who he was having a circumcision because that's necessary.
Of course.
And so they had this electrical device that burns it off or something. There was an accident.
It's a laser. It was a laser, and it was a new device, and they had the wrong setting on it, and they basically...
No, this was years ago we were talking about.
No, this is years ago.
50s
because there were twin boys. There were twin boys. They were both circumcised, and the one, they had the wrong setting on this new laser circumcision device, and they fried his fetus. So they decided to do surgery, turn him into a little girl. It didn't work. He grew up, and he became male again. But he was so screwed up by the way he was treated,
Yeah.
including the fact that this doctor was apparently a total pervert, that he ended up committing suicide.
Yeah.
But this doctor, a whole science was built on this one case, and this is an example of where science goes wrong.
Yes.
Yep.
And
where when you give into authority other than reality.
Because he was saying
Right.
that it was a success and the kid was messed up.
It was never a success in any way whatsoever.
I had never heard of these things.
Yeah.
So I was talking about things that happened. You know, they
It's
changed,
just shameful
they
that it was in Canada.
did- I had never heard of that.
The guy
let me
was.
find it for you.
His guy has been completely. The doctor was completely discredited. His work is in the gutters, so to speak, and
I
but
actually
he
believe,
influenced a lot of people.
thanks to that, I believe that John Hopkins ditched their transgender program.
Good. When I was in college, one of my classmates worked part-time at the, what was it, the City of Hope, I think, and he was talking about a baby that had been born that it was questionable gender. And they were going to do a DNA test, and we asked him, what did they decide to do? And he said, well, they basically decided to leave everything because if they made the wrong choice, it was easier to remove things than to add them. So rather than, rather than take off what may have been a micro penis or whatever, I don't know the exact circumstance of the child, but whatever, they decided, well, you know what, if we do the surgery, what if we're wrong? So, and that was the right decision to make. Leave the kid alone. And this woman, the sociologist who wrote this paper, when her mother, she was born with a condition that causes a large clitoris. And it looks like a little penis. I actually looked it up, and it really does. It looks like a little mini penis. And her mom told her that, well, if you want to have surgery, her mom resisted surgery. That was one good thing. But you know what these people did? They shoved, right after she was born, and they kind of whisked the baby away, they had her mother sign a blank consent form. And the mother was so doped up, she didn't know she signed a blank consent form.
That's
Can you
crazy.
imagine this is totally unethical to have a parent sign a blank consent form. You just can't believe that, that a hospital
Well, that's
uses
what I
it.
said well for. It's like, because that just leaves them open to do basically whatever they could, whatever they feel it like doing. That's just so unethical. It's unreal.
And so the hospital, she did, this is in Quebec, and the mother was able to stop the hospital from doing surgery, which would have been basically a clitoridectomy or whatever. Because the way they fixed this was to remove the whole thing, which means there'd be no clitoris there, no sensitive area there at all. And that kind of freaks me out because I'm fond of mine, thank you very much.
I'm sure others are as well.
I mean the clitoris. The clitoris has just as
growing up without one is kind of unfathomable. Is like in the development of a child or a gender to begin with.
Well, hell, also the clitoris is a hell of a lot bigger than just that little nub, too. I mean, it wraps what, about a foot?
I don't remember when you talk about all the connections and everything, but there are as many nerve endings. You have to remember there are as many nerve endings in that little tiny clitoris as there are in a penis.
Right.
They're all in one area.
So, just like you said, that's basic. Could be the equivalent of somebody cutting off a boy's penis at the beginning of birth, and then expecting him to develop as a normal male, expecting it anyways,
Because I actually looked up the surgery in a surgical manual because after I was reading this, and they were all very common. Oh, well, this causes such social distress in young women. We cut it off, and here's what we do. And I'm going, but there's nothing left, you fuckers. You've just taken. It's not like they're reducing it in size or even making it internal, because maybe you could do that. I don't know. But they. And so anyway, when she was 17, her mom said, if you want to have any surgery, You have to have it before you're 18, otherwise it'll be considered cosmetic surgery and you'll have to pay for it. So she ended up being young and naive, deciding to have surgery. Now, I don't know exactly what surgery they did. She didn't explain that. I don't know if they did that surgery, and I hope they didn't, because that's removing the whole thing.
By the way, Jade?
Yeah.
Here is the full clitoris.
Yeah,
It's a lot bigger than what we think originally.
Right. But what they would do...
I know exactly what you're talking about, Jade, though, because I've seen in a medical journal basically an over-exaggerated or over... Probably not the same exact condition you're talking about, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Right, and
now
so
the
what
question is whether some idiot will think that that's pornography. Keep it off the screen.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, idiots.
Well, it's a
for
medical,
educational
technically.
purposes.
Technically, medical stuff they allow.
They're fucking stupid.
But medical stuff they allow you. As long as it's labeled
Unless
medical.
they've got a burr up their ass. Well, unless they got a burr up their ass. Cause,
Well, I don't know. After you showed that, Paranor had to light up a cigarette.
But yeah, but basically what they did in that surgery was remove the whole external part, so where all those nerve endings are. But I can't imagine, they do this stuff to people. And there was a woman who had a foster child that they were in the process of adopting, and this foster child was intersexed, and the foster child had one testicle. I don't know about the other genitalia, but the foster child had one testicle. And the foster parents said, well, this is a little boy. Everything about the child is a boy. As far as the child is concerned, he's a boy. He's very boyish in every way. But the doctor at the hospital thought that the surgery should be done to turn the child into a girl because that one testicle, I mean, come on. And the doctor did the surgery to remove this kid's only testicle without their permission or without. They were in the process of fighting the doctor over this. The doctor just did it.
Oh, no.
And
so did the other had not descended, or?
No, it didn't have one.
Okay.
The child was intersexed, so I don't know if maybe the child had some female genitalia as well as male. I don't know the entire. But then of course, the foster parents were furious because they felt that this was a boy. He needed his testicle, and if it turned out not to be right, it's better to take it off later. Anyway, they were suing. I never found out what happened with that. But for a doctor to be so arrogant to decide, well, I'm just going to take it off because I think it should be off. It just.
Now, would you think that it would be unethical, say if is born gender role as a female, to the trained eye, they say that born as a female, but say born also with a testicle attached, would it be ethical for the doctor to take it off? Say make the decision to take the testicle off, even though being born, obviously
I
it's
think
a girl.
That's what this was. I think this was someone.
This is the whole point, though, isn't it? It's about identity.
Yeah,
right.
Your gender identity.
The child should be able
to make that decision.
Right.
The child should be the one who decides who they are.
It depends on circumstance. For example, if you have your little testicle and your little vestibular, is that the right term? Vestibular, whatever.
Vas deferens?
Yeah, if it's, so to speak, not enclosed in something, if it's not encased, but it's just kind of there,
so
maybe, in that kind of case, if it's not proper, if there's no scrotum or anything to house it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what
because there's obvious medical, ramifications that come along with it,
But apparently this wasn't the case. It was a perfectly normal testicle. I mean, it hadn't descended yet, but there was a place for it to descend. You know what I mean? Because this was a little boy. But so, and even if it hadn't descended yet, a child that young, they could have, when the child got older, if it was very clear this was a boy, they could have created a scrotal pouch.
Yeah. Especially knowing, that gender identity and stuff exists now compared to
then they didn't know.
Back in the day when it really would have never been thought about. Well, you know that.
Well, it
that
wasn't
some,
mainstream.
Some people
that's
are
for
born
sure.
with
Yeah.
the gender identity issues and things of that nature.
The thoughts were out there, the ideas were out there, they just weren't mainstream or
Right.
you know,
Right.
accepted. At
We're
the
not
time.
generally accepted by the medical community either.
I
you
don't,
know.
I don't see a problem myself. I mean, you know, Hitler took over half of Europe only having one himself. He only had
Yeah,
one
there
body.
you go.
The other one's in the Albert Hall, apparently.
But let's not forget about Mr. Lance Armstrong winning the Tour de France.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, do you mean cheating at the Tour de France?
Whatever, he still only had the. But yeah, see, that's.
It's it's bicycle riding. Nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
He had one taken from like Born with an Extra, right?
Yeah. But yeah, but see, the idea of mutilating a child in any way, without letting them make that choice, and that includes circumcision, as far as I'm concerned. Without letting them make that choice, is just terrible. And I hope we can soon get to the point in this country. I mean, we've already made gay conversion therapy illegal. We're allowing.
Not everywhere.
No, but a couple of places. Well, I'm in California, so I'm thinking in those terms.
In a lot of places.
There's an old saying that the way California goes, there goes the rest of the country eventually. So it will happen. But conversion therapy will be banned here in California. Trans kids can use the restroom of their.
Hang on.
Regarding gay.
Your expression is fine and good, but that's not necessarily the case. I mean, the eugenics movement was basically started in terms of the negative, so to speak, eugenics movement. In some ways, Nazi Germany actually based some of their crap on. That actually started in California long before it went to Nazi Germany, but that didn't end up really becoming overly nationwide. So, I mean, there are things that don't.
Yeah, well, that was also a long time ago. I think California didn't have. Then.
Also, the constitutional banning of gay marriage was also implemented in California Prop 8, but unfortunately that didn't go through in the rest of the country as well.
Right. But it was also challenged right away. However, gay marriage, period, started in California and San Francisco.
Echo somewhere.
Yeah.
Really? I thought it started in Boston.
No, it started in California. The mayor of San Francisco looked at the laws and decided that there was nothing against marrying people, so he declared.
I can tell where the echo is coming from. I'm going to have to start randomly muting people till I figure it out.
It might be me. Sorry, I have my microphone on, but sometimes it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Were you getting anything while I was muted? Let me try again.
Everybody muted at the same fucking time, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's Jade, Max, or Logic. I think it's Jade, actually. Let's try that again. Very little on you, Cliff. I think the louder one was Jade's.
I think we rolled out Cliff. Wait, maybe not.
Okay, I muted myself, but I was still hearing an echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it is Cliff.
I was also muted too.
Test for Echo. Good CD, LP, by the way. Rush.
Yeah. If
it was Cliff.
If we're off of this murder mystery right now, going back to the point of conversion and gay conversion and circumcision. While I'm very happy and I fully support the banning of gay conversion therapy, I really don't see a problem with circumcision. And as far as I'm concerned, isn't at the age of a child, when you're born, isn't that really the best time to be circumcised? All things considered, when you get circumcised as an adult, what happens usually is you get stitches down there and getting an erection causes some kind of tearing.
I can actually speak of that because I had one at 33. I had a little area between my legs for a while because it had a turban. But yeah, it's not fun.
Yes,
you have to think. I had to think of Margaret Thatcher in a thong during my waking hours.
Sorry, what are we talking about here?
That would do it.
Margaret Thatcher in a thong.
Guys.
No. What happened? Sorry. What did you have done?
Circumcision.
Oh,
Diabetes sucks. Just say that.
I still got a turtleneck sweater, me.
What about Max?
Was that a new topic request there, Shadow?